Hey guys, before we get into the episode today, I have Molly here, Grindbin favorite.
Howdy.
And we're reminding you that our Kickstarter is only a few days away.
It's almost over. This is your last chance to donate.
So if you want to check it out, it's called American Scheme. We're going to post it again on the Twitter and the Facebook. Check it out, and if you want to donate, even $1 makes a big difference to it. So thanks for donating, and thank you to Gregory Freeman, who donated. One of our patrons donated $100 to the production. So thank you so much, Greg. And thank you to our good friend Sean Thompson over at looserounds.com for a $20 donation. Thanks.
Thank you so much. The rest of y'all better step up.
Now, guys, enjoy Miss 45. Welcome to another episode of The Grindbin. I'm Mike Wood.
I'm Bobby Trippett.
I'm Michael Tanner.
And today we're going to be talking about 1981's Miss 45.
It's Greek to you, buddy.
Hey, Bobby, I got the money.
Yeah, I made the team. But you're a hooker.
Get that goddamn thing out of your mouth.
Why did you say it, knocker?
I don't know. Spooky ain't got no real rhythm.
Hello, Pizza Man.
We're gonna play a little game, baby.
I just love funny games. Get a little girl all hot and horny.
This is Los Angeles.
How the hell would women live? I'm horny. And maybe Daddy wouldn't have had to kill himself because he couldn't get it up anymore.
What a shame.
It's for jacking off.
Come on, just step on the gas before we get cream.
And more.
So, guys, we're here on the bin talking about one of the most, I'd say, famous, infamous grindhouse movies of all time, exploitation movies, Miss 45, which is a little bit of a departure from our normal just making fun of a movie the whole time, because I think we're all in agreement this is a legit, enjoyable, well-made, good film.
It's a great movie.
It's tough. This is in response to a vote that our friends on our Patreon did over what movie we should cover next, and they brought us quite the film here. This is a heavy hitter. This is a big daddy, as it were. And a problem that we discussed before we started recording was that this movie is dead serious. It's well made, and the subject matter is upsetting. So we're gonna make some jokes tonight.
This won by one vote over Bikini Car Wash Company. So,
man, 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
We could have been watching Bikini Car Wash, but no, we just have to watch this amazing film.
Yeah.
Miss 45.
Yeah. So Miss 45 won over Bikini Car Wash and Ilsa She-Wolf of the SS, I believe.
Wow.
So they picked Miss 45, which I don't have any problem covering. It's just
not at all.
This is what you guys want to hear. We're doing it. So
yeah, there's funny parts.
There are funny parts, but we were talking earlier before recording is that the original intention of this show was to cover movies like this, Miss 45, they call her One Eye, or Thriller as another title for that one, Fight for Your Life, and other movies that are not so bad they're good.
Not movies famous for being bad.
Yeah, they're just good exploitation movies. But you know, the show kind of turned into a bad movie podcast in a way. But,
it was kind of unavoidable. So many grindhouse films are made on the cheap. They're made as quickly as possible. Not a lot of second takes. And so it lends itself to being very funny, you know, from an ironic standpoint here in 2018. And there's certainly some of that in here, which we will get into. But, whew. Like this one is... It's an upsetting watch, not gonna lie.
Yeah, so I said enjoyable. It's like a well-made movie. It's not enjoyable in terms of you're gonna put a smile on your face.
Yeah, it's a little weird to tell somebody, I really like this movie,
yeah,
and then show it to them.
As we were talking before, this is made by Abel Ferrara, who we're going to get into his background, but I would say he's like the 70s Lars von Trier, and that he was making movies that upset people, but they're well respected by the artistic community and for being interesting and experimental, and he's got all sorts of interesting themes. And his background in film, the movies he's made some more mainstream movies, I guess. Never really mainstream, but he had some success. We're going to get into some of the films, which is it's interesting. You've probably seen at least one of them,
and he's definitely one of the big names for grindhouse cinema. I think.
Oh, yeah,
He's
and I
been
mean-
responsible for a lot of stuff that.
This is 1981 New York. Like
Yeah.
he is like the New York grindhouse dude. Like he's filming these guerrilla style. He used to be known for his shorts, like gory shorts that he'd make, and they would just film no permits, nothing, just friends going around filming these on the east side of New York and just getting whatever they could. And Miss 45 is no exception. This movie was made for, I believe it said $62,000 was the
Wow.
budget. And they just ran around New York, no permits or anything.
It's the best way to do it.
A lot of people in this movie never acted again. Just kind of friends of
That's
the cast.
actually really shocking to me when I was looking at that, at how few had done anything else.
Yeah, and it's not like the performances are bad. They're just,
I don't think there are any bad performances in this movie, really.
no, which I think speaks to
Even those dudes on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it speaks to Abel Ferrara's capabilities as a director. 'Cause
He was incredibly talented.
In my opinion, a very good, legit director. He's made some crazy movies, and he's probably a little crazy himself. But I respect the dude. He makes some very interesting movies.
Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about him.
So let's get into Miss 45. Initially, this movie is not like, it's well known today, but it was not like hugely known.
And I understand you were telling me earlier that it was almost lost.
It was kind of, so people knew about it, right? And they talked about in circles of like exploitation movies, but it wasn't like it was readily available. Also because it's very disturbing, and it was like hard to get anybody to release it on VHS or anything. Kind of like a Herschel Gordon Lewis movie in that like they're kind of meant for a theater and that was it.
I know when I was first learning about grindhouse cinema, before I really dove headfirst into it in the shallow end and hit my head, this was a title that I heard quite often.
Yeah.
Like that was what you're talking about. Like I heard about, I Spit on Your Grave, They Call Her One-Eyed, Ms. 45 were all titles that just swirled around, but for the longest time I couldn't find anywhere.
Yeah. Well, Miss 45 was eventually, and you'll see who owns it now. It's not even a big studio that owns this movie. It was originally released in 2000 on DVD by Image Entertainment, and it was re-edited. So they took out scenes on the first DVD
For content?
release.
Or?
Yes, content.
Oh.
Yeah, it's about. Go ahead.
They remove less than a minute.
Yeah.
But they do have cuts include changes to the first rape, where Abel Ferrara makes a cameo in this movie, which we'll get into, which is they kind of cut some of that out, I guess.
I can see that.
They also cut out a line from the second rape when the guy says, "This ought to make you talk, huh?" They cut that out.
Huh.
And then the climatic Halloween party shootaut.
Man, if there's one part you shouldn't cut anything from.
They recut it to take out a murder on screen.
Oh, one of the squibs?
They just cut out one of the like somebody she shot.
Did they cut out the last one? You're like, wait, this just ends like this?
I was thinking it might be the guy in the dress. I don't know. That would be my guess if I'm talking about it.
Because it's very strange choices for what to cut. It seems kind of arbitrary.
Yeah.
Like that line from the second rape. Like, without that line, the rape's more palatable? I don't think so.
I have no idea. But they, for some
It's an
reason,
odd
they
choice.
edited it just specifically for that DVD. And that was the only version you could get until 2014. So 14 years later, Draft House bought this movie.
They put out a fantastic Blu-ray.
This movie looks better than it should have ever looked.
And that's what you want.
The print quality is amazing. I mean, it looks incredible. It looks like a movie made today, in my opinion.
To your point,
like that
Mike,
good.
about it being kind of almost lost and moved around a lot, there are a couple scenes where it gets a little rough. Like you could see that the print was damaged.
Yes.
But one, that adds charm. And two, it really shows the effort they put into it.
Yeah, I first saw this movie only a few months ago now.
You saw an actual screening,
I saw a screening in Hollywood.
Where'd you go for that?
It was at the Egyptian.
Oh, rad.
Put on by Cinematic Void. It was a double feature.
What'd they put it with?
It was that Eastwood movie.
It was the Dirty Harry movie, The Enforcer.
Oh, cool,
It was the
cool.
other. It's the rape revenge.
Yeah.
Dirty Harry movie. And the print for Miss 45 was so deteriorated. Everything looked were shades of pink.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a
It'd
rose,
been
like
all-
a rose filter on top of the film.
I forget
so it
what
was,
the term for that is when that happens, but
There's probably not many prints around.
yeah. So
I
they were
saw
touting it as, guys, you're going to see a treat. It looks terrible, but you're seeing literally a piece
but
of
who
history.
gets to see this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw similarly. I saw a print of Hell Night, previous Grindbin episode, that was all pink and washed out like that.
They should have just
Not
thrown
quite
that
the
out.
classic that Ms. 45 is, but
Hell Night does have a nice Blu-ray, though.
yeah, everything
Yeah.
does these days.
Of course.
But
Doesn't deserve it. So let's get into Abel Ferrara. He is a filmmaker. I would say, so he's from the Bronx. He's very New York. But to me, he's kind of like the Grindhouse Jean-Luc Godard, I guess. Like, he's like the French New Wave of Grindhouse in terms of his way of just kind of doing things very like run and gun. I love the way he films this thing with like, there's no tripod and he's running in. Like, they don't even focus sometimes and shots are out of focus, but it just has this real like raw quality to the whole movie. New York looks great. It's dirty. It just looks like exactly the pictures you've seen from like late 70s, early 80s New York when it was just...
It's my favorite period of New York history.
It's interesting history in New York.
Oh, it's fascinating. Like Ford to New York, drop dead, like the issues with going bankrupt and having to lay off like 2/3 of their police and fire departments.
I would say that this movie and like Death Wish, the first Death Wish, really deal in the actual New York from the late 70s, early 80s.
I
Like,
mean, there's a lot between those two movies that go together.
Speaking of sharing a location, because I believe one of the scenes that Bronson shoots those guys in the park is the same park as this movie, which I guess you could just go in there at night and do whatever you wanted. I'm sure they had permits for Death Wish, but I don't think they had for this one. So Abel Ferrara, he's been making films for generations. He still makes movies. He got his start making short films around New York and then made in 1979 his first movie, which was Driller Killer, which we've talked about on this show.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure we'll cover it at some point as an episode.
I would think so, yeah. And then he followed up with this movie, which is the second movie. And then 1984, he made this movie, which I think we're probably going to do. It's called Fear City. It's about strippers in Manhattan that are being stalked and maimed by a psycho killer, and it stars Tom Berenger and Billy D. Williams.
Nice.
I am all for it. I am not familiar with this movie, but I need to see it.
I know, I was like, Abel Ferrara making a Tom Berenger and Billy D. Williams movie? What the hell?
And the title for that movie comes from the pamphlet that the New York Police Department used to hand out at the airport called Fear City.
Really?
It was essentially like, you're a tourist who've come to New York. We are going to scare you shitless
Wow.
by giving you this pamphlet that says, don't go out after 6 p.m. Never ride the subway. It was just a guide for how awful the city was, handed out by the police to tourists.
Somewhere we can probably buy one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I bet you can, right?
I want to seek one of
Check
those out.
eBay.
New York used to be a very different place.
Mike can get a piece of the original Aggro Crag from Nickelodeon. I'm going to get one of those
One
Fear
day.
City pamphlets.
1990, he made a great movie called King of New York. It has Christopher Walken in it. This is the first movie, I believe, that him and Christopher Walken worked on, but it's not the last. He was in a lot of Abel Ferrara movies. It also has Lawrence Fishburne. It's a mainstream release, and it's still crazy. And Tanner, you were saying that at some point somebody was like, "Oh, you like Reservoir Dogs? You should watch this or something."
I was at that sort of early mid 90s after Pulp Fiction came out. So it was like, oh, you like Harvey Keitel? You should check out Bad Lieutenant. You like Christopher Walken? You should see King of New York.
And his next movie was 1992's Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel. It is an insane movie. Have you seen Bad Lieutenant?
Oh, yeah.
Either of you?
I haven't, no.
Definitely watch it.
I'm woefully behind on Abel Ferrara.
It is NC-17. It is a hard NC-17. Like, it is, wow, legit insane stuff in that movie. Werner Herzog did kind of, it's not a remake because it takes place in New Orleans, but he did that reimagining of it with Nicolas Cage.
That's Port of Call?
Yeah, Bad Lieutenant Port of Call, which is basically the same type of story, but it takes place in New Orleans. I don't know why he made that. I've
Why
never
does he do
really...
anything?
Well, yeah. He just kind of does what he wants, I guess.
You got to respect that.
Documentary, and then he'll make a narrative movie. For some reason, he did a reimagining of a Ferrara movie. And
With
of all
Nicolas
the ones,
Cage?
yeah. I mean, he's a good choice for the Bad Lieutenant because if you've seen the movie, Harvey Keitel is crazy, and it's just I would make it. It's like Mean Streets. Have you ever seen that one? Like the Scorsese movie,
Yeah.
where it's just like De Niro plays that piece of shit, and it's just you just follow him as he continues to make bad choices, and it's kind of like notoriously known as a one-act movie. And that there's never a setup or anything. It just kind of ends with basically the setup for the rest of the two acts, but the movie's over. I say like Bad Lieutenant's a little bit like that as you follow around somebody as they you just kind of see continual
As this
bad
lieutenant is
choices.
bad.
Yeah. Oh, he's bad.
It's the baddest lieutenant.
Yeah. And we'll get into more about that movie in a little bit. But other movies he made: 1993, Body Snatchers; 1993, Dangerous Game, which was Harvey Keitel and Madonna.
Oh man.
Interesting choice. 1995, The Addiction, which is a vampire movie.
I was going to ask if it was the vampire film.
It's a vampire movie with Christopher Walken.
Huh.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And
I
then,
remember trying to watch that. I think
I haven't
in
seen
high
that
school
one.
and being like, "This, I don't understand what's happening. This is weird and boring."
A year after that, he made a movie called The Funeral, which also had Christopher Walken in it. He's still making things. He has 44 directing credits. At some point, somebody gave him like 2 episodes of Miami Vice, which I thought was absolutely insane.
The original series?
Yeah. And the star of this movie
I was gonna ask,
actually
was
was
she in
in
those episodes?
in those episodes.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Very interesting.
I want to seek those out.
He does appear in this movie as the first rapist. And
What
we'll
a
get
thing
into-
to cast yourself as.
We'll get into it. I don't think he was casting himself because he got to rape a lady. I think it
No.
was more in terms of his relationship.
It
with
actually
her in
makes a
real
lot
life.
of sense.
Yeah. He was, I believe, 30 or 31 when he made this movie. So we'll get into, though the actual star is not of that age. But the writer of this movie is Nicholas St. John. So Abel Ferrara didn't write this movie, but Nicholas St. John wrote 12 movies, and they're all Abel Ferrara movies.
Huh.
So he wrote Driller Killer, Miss 45, Fierce City, China Girl, King of New York, Body Snatchers, Dangerous Game, The Addiction, and The Funeral, which was his last movie. He did not write Bad Lieutenant, but Zoe Lund, who plays Thana in this movie, she did write Bad Lieutenant. The star of this movie co-wrote Bad Lieutenant with Abel Ferrara, which is crazy. That I mean, you haven't seen the movie yet, Bobby, but I mean, I was shocked to find out that she had written that movie. She's a very interesting person.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into her background.
We will, yeah. It's not the happiest story, but it's...
So this is her first movie because she was 17 when
Which
she was filming
is
this movie.
crazy.
Yeah. She
Thinking
was,
about what happens in this film.
Yeah.
she was paid $1,500 to be in this movie. I believe she knew Abel before the movie was filmed, and I think that's why he was the rapist in the one scene, because
Because he knew her backstory.
He knew her.
And the most comfortable thing he could have done to film that rape scene would be to play the character himself.
because her background, Bobby has a book with the Miss 45 Blu-ray, has a lot of interesting tidbits.
Yeah, there's a whole essay by Zoe that she had written back in '93 that she entitled "The Ship with 8 Sails and 50 Black Cannon." And she gets into a lot of things about that. And she mentions very openly about how she'd been raped before and what that experience was like. And so I think going into having to film a rape scene, her friend Abel was like, "Look, I'm gonna play this, and we're gonna get through this together."
So she plays in this movie a mute. She does not talk, but her performance is incredible.
She does so much just with her face and her body language.
And it's amazing to watch her at 17 be able to act with her eyes, and Ferrara as a director to be able to use that, because I've seen it done terribly in movies.
Definitely.
Like
Yeah.
you watch was the Killer Plant movie by M. Night Shyamalan
Oh,
with
that's
Zoe
happening.
Deschanel. There's
Yeah.
an entire scene based on her eyes, and it's the most horrible bullshit you've ever seen, where you could clearly just like, no, just move your eyes like that, move your eyes like that, no, look down, look up. You could see it was like ham-fisted horrible direction and acting. Her performance in Miss 45 is amazing.
Yeah,
Like-
and I would say it's both his capabilities as a director for getting good performances out of everybody that's not an actor in this, but also is that he says in interviews he let her go. Like, it was just like, no, it's her character.
She was special, Zoe Lund, and it's heartbreaking to know that she only lived to be 37 years old, and we didn't get to see what else she could have done, because with the kind of output from what she was able to write and the way she was able to act, like, she could have done some amazing stuff.
Well, she was a student at Columbia.
Yeah.
When he had met her, so I believe she was going to Columbia at 17. And she
That
was a
tells you a lot
student
right
there.
there.
Yeah, when they were filming this. So yeah, she's a really smart girl, and she died early, as Bobby said, because of
A drug overdose.
yeah, because she was a huge advocate for taking heroin, and she did not hide her addiction for it, and she wanted it to be legalized.
She thought H was the best thing.
Yep, and she'd tell everybody about it.
It's
So
kind of, what was Cary Grant's thing? Was it LSD? No, really, I read about this.
Yeah?
Like, Cary Grant was way into LSD and was constantly telling everybody, like, you should get into this.
Get it on the ground floor.
Like, why isn't everybody doing this?
She has some interesting comments, by the way, about this, but let's get into just the only other thing. She did 10 other things, okay? She was in one of Larry Cohen's movies. She starred in it. It's 1984 special effects.
Oh, I haven't seen that film.
She stars in that movie as 2 different characters. And apparently, it's great.
Especially after rewatching Ms. 45, I want to seek out anything she did.
Yeah.
Anything she had a hand in. Like,
Not too many things. She was in that. She starred in that movie.
And I thought there's an interesting thing I read in that, is because she does play 2 roles, is they actually, for the first role she plays in the movie, they had someone dub her lines. So it's not her voice until she shows up as the other character, and then it's her voice, which I thought was a really interesting choice for a movie that's using twins to actually have their voices be different. And in relation to Miss 45, because Miss 45, she's mute, and Special Effects was her next movie, which it's like an hour into the movie before you hear her actual voice. So no one knew what she sounded like as a human being for an entire movie, and then most of her next movie.
I feel like I gotta watch that movie though, because I was reading online. Everybody has good comments about it. So then she wrote Bad Lieutenant with Abel Ferrara, and she also had a small role in the movie. And if you've seen the movie, you know where she is in it. But if you haven't, I'm not going to spoil it for you. She also appeared in a few more things, but died in 1999, so not too much. And that's it. I say pretty much nobody else.
everyone else was first-time workers.
Yeah,
First time,
on
last
a
time.
super low-budget movie.
So here we get into kind of the idea behind this movie is now we get into the subgenre finally on the Grindbin, one of the sleaziest subgenres there is, which is the rape, exploitation, revenge movie.
I must argue, finally on the Grindbin, no.
Oh,
Yeah, I think you.
Savage Streets.
that's well, yes, Savage
It's
Streets.
absolutely a rape
Not by
revenge
the
movie.
victim, but by her sister. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
revenge
it's
for a rape was the plot.
yeah.
of Savage
So the rape
Streets.
revenge subgenre, which is, whew,
It's such a part of grindhouse cinema, though. It's well, because the reality of it is, when not in as capable of hands as Abel Ferrara's, it's a quick way to get some cheap heat. You know,
Yeah.
they're easy to do.
We
you
have
just
a lot of
horrible rape up front, and then you're cheering for the person getting the revenge. It's easy to get the crowd on your side.
yeah. So that's it's an instant way to, like you said, create heat.
I think
and
the best.
sympathy.
I mean, one of the better ones as far as like a sleazy approach to it is I Spit on Your Grave, which kind of just turns into a slasher movie where you're rooting for the slasher,
yeah.
which is fine. Well done. You know, but of course, Death Wish, you know, most of Bronson's output.
Oh yeah. Well, see and the thing about Death Wish is that the women are just disposed of, and he's like, well, just have a man take care of it, which is the complete opposite of this
Which
movie
is
where I
interesting
Spit on Your
because
Grave.
Death Wish especially explores a lot of similar themes about rape revenge that Ms. 45 does. I just think Ms. 45 handles it so much better.
Yeah, because when I was explaining this to people, I say it's almost an anti-rape revenge movie, and that she, as we're going to go through, she takes revenge for actions, but we learn, do those actions really directly affect what she's doing, or is there something else that's kind of unlocked within her that's fed through those things to kind of justify what she ends up doing, because she doesn't really seek revenge, kind of like in Death Wish, actually. If you watch the first Death Wish, Bronson never takes revenge on the rapist.
On the people who actually did it.
He never goes and even looks for him.
It just sort of ends up being the linchpin for a turn that his personality wanted to take anyway.
Yes.
A justification.
It's been
Yeah.
something that's always there that he unlocks through a series of events that now the thing that's different is that, like in Death Wish, you're cheering from the whole time, and in Miss 45, there's a point when you're just like, no, I want you to stop.
And that's where we talked about this before we recorded. I think Ms. 45 would double feature very well with Falling Down.
Yeah.
Because you start out on the character's side, but as they continue to spiral out of control, you're not with them anymore by the end of the movie. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, wait, no, this is not something to celebrate. This is not something to cheer for. This is a terrible thing that you should hope you never find yourself in, because it's a riptide that you can't swim out of.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of the point of Death Wish as well, but it
Yes,
got
it was.
very
It
missed
was.
by a lot of people.
Well, the first Death Wish was a studio movie.
Yeah.
The second was bought by Canon.
And then it just turned into Eli Roth's Death Wish.
Yes, well, they had really no intention on making it serious. It was kind of like Tobe Hooper.
Right. Well, you can't franchise a story like that with that kind of theme and that kind of feeling. You know,
Oh,
where
yeah.
like where by the end of it, you're like, this person was wrong.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I
you could look at like
sympathize,
something
but you
like,
were wrong.
like Rambo. Like First Blood is Vietnam was a mistake and terrible, and we're not taking care of our vets.
Yeah.
Rambo
Yeah.
3, it's like fuck yeah, kill the commies.
It just turns into
The
America.
Taliban
Fuck
are
yeah.
our friends. They're our friends, those Taliban.
And I mean, much like Death Wish, by Rambo, by part 2, it's already just like, well, fuck all that. Now he's a superhero.
Yeah, people
and
miss
now
the
this
original
is,
intention.
Yeah.
Well, because Death Wish is very challenging because in the beginning of the movie, Bronson starts out as a bleeding heart liberal, as they explain it.
Yeah.
And he lives in the city despite it being really bad. And his wife and his daughter get raped, and his wife is murdered, and his daughter is catatonic and put into a mental institution. And he's given a gun by one of his clients because he's an architect, and he starts taking out his anger on random criminals around town. But there's a hard part in the movie, like a hard turn, where the police say, like, you're not, like, we understand what you're trying to do and you're stopping criminals, but you can't do that. You're one man. But then at the end of the movie, the police let him go. And so the commentary is very like,
Yeah.
really don't know where to go with it, because it's like, I don't know if I agree with any of this.
Right. Which I think it to some degree happens in almost every revenge movie. Of like, I'm not sure about this.
So guys, before we get into the movie though, big piece of trivia from our friend Sean Thompson over at looserounds.com. Guys, the movie's called Miss 45. She never uses a 45 in the movie.
It's not a 45?
It's not a 45.
Because there is a scene where a character stares at the gun for a very long time and kind of realizes, oh, this is the person who's been doing the 45 killings. But it's not a 45.
Yes, there's multiple parts where there's like in the paper 45 killings. Nope, Sean let me know there is not
So-
a 45 used in this movie.
so
It
what kind
looks
of gun
like a
was it?
smaller caliber. Did he
Yep.
say what?
Because I thought a 45 was bigger than that.
He did not say the caliber of the gun, but it's definitely not a 45. So I told him we were recording this episode, and he was like, "Oh, I got to tell you something. It's in none of the trivia for IMDb or anything, but that's a great little tidbit I did not know." So thank you, Sean. He's one of our Grindbin All-Stars, you know. So thank you. We appreciate it. Sean Thompson, resident gun expert on the Grindbin. He's helped us out of quite a few jams.
Yeah, and
with-
it's always interesting to
guns.
hear those things from him. I'm glad that he chimes in.
We are not gun people. We
No,
don't know.
I don't think that's a surprise to anyone who's been listening to us.
Swords? I know everything. Guns, not so much.
Tanner's wearing chainmail right now. He's so into swords.
I like LARPing.
Speaking on the background, I'd like to read an excerpt from The Ship with 8 Sails and 50 Black Cannon that Zoe Roland wrote, because it has to do with the background of the film and the way people interpret it. She had said, journalists often say, "Oh, what a feminist film. Ms. 45 presents a terrific metaphor for women's empowerment. Tell us all about it." I used to explain, and now I groan quietly, and then explain, no, Ms. 45 is not about women's liberation any more than it's about mutes' liberation, or garment workers' liberation, or your liberation, or my own. Notice that her climactic victim is not a rapist in the clinical sense. He's her boss, the real rapist, our real rapist. Also, Ms. 45 presents a humble yet well-crafted metaphor for rebellion of the any sex to press. But the gun was put in a woman's hand. A woman carried that universal message. And so it was all the more powerful. It made us shiver, male and female. Different timbers and temperatures of shiver, but shiver all around. I thought that was an interesting take on how she viewed the film.
If you listen to an interview with Abel Ferrara, that bring up the point, they go, "Oh, it's regarded as some feminist movie," and he says, "No." He says, "You can talk to Zoe about that, and see what she says." He goes, "But this movie is, you can call it whatever you want." He says, "It's written and directed by a man."
Yeah.
And it stars a woman, and she does what she wants with the character. But he goes, it wasn't intended to be feminist, and I don't view it as a feminist movie. But he says, if you take it that way, fine. But it
you
wasn't
really
his
missed
intention.
the point.
Yeah.
If you did see it as something particularly about feminism or women's empowerment, I agree with what she said too about like the message is so much more strongly gotten across because you made a woman do it. You notice it more. In an era where Bronson's running around shooting people, you're like, fuck yeah, you have a woman doing it, and now you're paying attention.
If I have to explain this to people, I just usually say, just so they'll know a rough idea to get them to watch it, I go like, it's just like Death Wish, but with a lady. I'll just say that so they could like get a.
It's Death Wish if the daughter avenged it herself.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay. So the lady.
And
going
what
around
would
shooting
happen
people.
to a person that went into that life?
But arguably,
Yeah.
isn't it by... I think people can get a little monolithic when they think of like a feminist movie. Like Wonder Woman is a feminist movie directed by a woman about a woman superhero with typical or regular kind of sort of female notions of love and acceptance and sort of struggle. But isn't it also possible for it to be a spectrum of it, where because it does mean more because Thana is a woman in the movie, by that very nature, isn't it a feminist movie?
I can see what you're saying, and for all of their objections to people viewing it as a movie about feminism and about the experience of a woman, like even the stuff that's aside from her avenging anything that happened to her, almost every scene in this movie is about a female's experience out in the city and like what kind of shit women have to put up with every single place that they go.
Well, I also view it as she's a person, as we're going to learn throughout the movie, that wants to be left alone on all spectrums.
She says as much.
She doesn't want friends.
In her own way.
She doesn't want to hang out with her coworkers. She doesn't want to talk to men. She doesn't want to hear what anybody has to say. She just does not want to live in this society, is what I see. And I see that she has severe mental issues that are kind of dismissed because she's also a mute, as people go, oh, she's handicapped, so you don't know how to fit in with everybody else because you can't talk. But it goes well beyond that.
But then the thing that happens to her finally snaps whatever was still connecting her to reality.
Yes. And I know it might sound cheesy, but like nobody's listening to her. She has clear signs that there are issues, but
She's
just because
trying
she
to
can't
communicate, but no one's paying enough attention.
Just because she can't vocally doesn't mean they're not there. She's demonstrating signs, and nobody's listening to her, and they're just saying, "Oh, she doesn't fit in because she's nervous about not being able to talk." That's not her problem. She has way deeper issues than that, and nobody's catching them.
But does she? Because we do see her go out to lunch with her coworkers.
And
but
she
she's
looks
kind of
bored as hell.
disconnected during
But
that.
this is also after she's gone through this traumatic experience.
Yes.
So
Right.
are we supposed to take that she has always been sort of disaffected? Because her coworkers treat her very delicate.
Yeah.
Which is she has this handicap of being mute, so they treat her like she's made out of glass.
Yes.
And if more scenes played up that aspect, I would say it wasn't necessarily feminist. But like you said, a lot of the experiences that she has are very specific female experiences.
Well, you bring it up a good point, because I do have a point, and it's right at the beginning of the movie.
Well, let's table a lot of this discussion until we go through scene by scene.
So
because
we're
we
actually
have a
going to
lot
get
talk about
right there. Is that it starts out with her working, and you see that she's kind of a loner even in her office, which is just in one room. It's just she works as a seamstress for some designer, right? And they're showing off dresses, and it's the male designer, and all the women are working on the clothes, and he's selling it to some lady who's buying the design, and he sells the design. And we kind of show just early signs of like how he's kind of like a taskmaster, and he goes in there and he's yelling at them and stuff, but then he's also kind of creepy with them in a lot of ways. Like,
it's an interesting character.
Yeah, he's a tough boss in some things, but then he's like rubbing people's shoulders, and he's like, "Oh, I'm also your friend," and
he seems almost like a Michael McKean spoof character. And then there's always just a hint of a threat from him, which is interesting and fits into everything that happens throughout this movie. So let's get our hands dirty here.
So the next thing that happens is they go home.
Yeah.
So when they're walking down the street, they're getting catcalled by a bunch of guys, right? And that's all the typical New Yorker
Yeah, this is like
guys.
here come the girls moment.
Yeah.
Because
Now-
all the coworkers are walking down, and what they did, and which you'll see if you watch the trailer, is they got all these dudes on the street they walked down the street with a camera, and they told all these guys who were already on the street just like, hey, be pricks. Just, make kissy faces, cat call us, do all that gross shit that you see people do all the time. And it's very effective watching them walk down the street and watch everyone go.
Oh, yeah, because it's handheld, it's very real.
First person
Yeah.
POV.
Yeah, and it reads just like, remember those videos that were going around a few years ago of the woman walking around New York with the camera.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Getting catcalled. Just like her
Just to
recording her
show
day walking
how
through
it
the
is
city.
to have to walk through a populated area.
And so we get introduced to my favorite character in the movie, which is one of her sassy coworker.
Oh, it's Lori?
A dude off camera, I think Lori's her name. A dude off camera goes, "Baby, you want to sit on my face?"
And she goes, "Fuck off!"
She gives him the finger.
She's
This
so New
girl-
York.
It's in
I
the
love
trailer.
it.
Yeah, that's what I've
She's the
written.
Rizzo of this pink, ladies.
Hey, do you want to sit on my face?
Fuck off.
Yeah, she's always telling people to fuck off, even if they're women. She's like, "Fuck off, shut up." She's great, right? So she plays like the exact opposite of Thana, and that like she voices every frustration she has just right in the open. She's like an open book.
Yeah, they make good counterpoints to each other. We have a person who physically can't say anything back to anybody, and then a person who says everything back to everybody.
So here's the thing where I start to see a little bit of difference in Thana. It's just beyond her just being mute. Is that while they're walking down the street and these guys are calling at her, she's almost oblivious to the whole thing, like it just doesn't matter. She doesn't have any sort of reactions on like looking at them or anything. Like she
She's
has no reaction.
Turned so inward.
Yes,
that she's
she's
got blinders to everything.
Completely like just does not fit in anywhere.
And you see it in the next scene too, because they show her grocery shopping alone.
Well, before she goes grocery shopping, I say this is a very important part. So what you're saying is like, is it a unique experience as just a female experience? Is they ask her, "Do you want to come with us somewhere?" And she says no, and she always says no.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, you'll have fun.
To be fair, I do that with all my coworkers too. They're like, "Hey, we want to go out for drinks?" No, not
But
at
we're
all.
setting her up as somebody that not only doesn't want to hear what men have to say, she doesn't want to hear what anybody has to say. She will not. She just closes herself into her own world, won't even associate with the people around her who are trying to be nice to her. But again, kind of like in Savage Streets where Linda's always babying her sister and we look at it as like she's treating her like a child. Everybody treats Thana like she's 5.
Yeah.
She's a grown woman.
And that goes to Zoe's point in the thing that we were talking about, or the thing that I read from where she says that this is about a person being oppressed by the world. This isn't necessarily specifically about a woman being oppressed by men. This could be anybody.
And the level that they treat her, it's almost like they don't even let her be a woman. Like she's almost just viewed as a child.
Yeah.
And that's why, like,
seems infantilized.
throughout the movie, she becomes more and more sexualized.
Yes.
As she continues to go through
As she
her
changes.
transformation. Yeah. So we just see a broken window is the next thing you see after she says she's not going to hang out with them. You just see a broken window and somebody breaking into an apartment.
A man breaking into an apartment intercut with her grocery shopping.
Yeah, she's
Nice little
shopping.
time capsule, by the way. Grocery store in 1981.
Yeah.
That was kind of rad. Seeing the things that she was grabbing off the shelves.
And again, just kind of oblivious to everything. Just shopping, like she's not looking at anybody, not really looking at anything, just in her own world, buying her Coke, her weird 80s Coke, and some ground meat.
Like a glass liter of Coca-Cola.
Like all she's buying is a giant glass liter of Coca-Cola and some ground meat.
That sounds like every trip to the store I do. I'm just kidding. I'm just
so
kidding.
Bobby
Like,
sees her card, he's like, "Oh."
I was like, oh, I'm not alone. Finally, someone like me.
Mental note. I need to go to the grocery store.
It's like, yeah, buy meat and soda and hope no one talks to me. That's me every time I leave the house.
Yeah, we're all Thana in one way, right?
There's a little Ms. 45 in all of us.
So that's when she's walking home. She's walking through an alleyway, and then somebody grabs her and pulls her into an alleyway.
It's almost cartoonish the way like an arm just goes yoink and pulls her off the street into an alley.
And it's Abel Ferrara dressed up in this creepy
He's
ass
in like,
mask.
was it the Alice, Sweet Alice, where like Brooke Shields is wearing that mask?
Yeah. It's a weird type
It's a
of
clear
mask.
woman mask because
I
he's
thought it
got
was a
lipstick
clown
on.
mask.
Oh, I thought it was just like the blush and the eye makeup of like
I thought it was
little
like
girl mask.
The semi-clear. Those semi-clear masks are the creepiest thing ever.
It's
'cause
pretty
I do not
Oh, yeah.
understand
intense.
why they would make the masks semi-clear.
No, it's very creepy.
Like the mask's intent is to the mask's intent, it seems to be, is like to show makeup on your face,
Yeah.
so you don't have to apply it yourself.
Ugh.
If you were doing like a cross-dress costume back in 1981, a Halloween party,
I
you're like a dude we see later in
I
this
saw
film.
a Jackie Kennedy mask like that once
Oh.
at an antique store. It was
That's
the creepiest
wonderful.
thing ever. Yeah.
Huh. It reminded me of Plastic Face in Raiders of Atlantis.
Oh yeah. You know what? Shared universe. That's who this is. This is Crystal Skull,
He's one of the Atlantis crew.
and he intercepts her on the street,
Yeah, and you
yeah,
get a very disturbing rape scene.
which is mercifully brief.
Well, here's the thing: is like less is more for sure. and that you don't need to go through it. We already get what's going on because it just shows just enough to be like, whoa. And then thankfully it cuts and she's just left there.
I will bring this up now. I don't want to go into the details of the rape itself, really, but it applies later. He throws her over a trash can and has his way with her very quickly that way.
And she's just left alone, like in the fetal position in the alleyway.
What's left of her groceries on the ground that she picks up,
So then she goes back home.
Kind of in a dazed 1,000-yard stare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she does have a
comedy
1,000-yard stare at
podcast
this point. Yeah. But she comes home and we find out that thief had broken into.
It was her apartment that this guy has broken into. So she unknowingly, upon being raped, has entered a home that an invader is now in.
And she gets raped again. Is that he pulls a gun on her. He forces himself on her.
A strange moment during this where he almost takes pity on her.
Yes, there's
because he realizes that she's already been raped. He can kind of tell because her clothes are torn and she's dazed. And he goes, "What happened to you, huh?" And then it seems to give him the idea to do it, which is horrifying.
Yeah, that's what I saw it as.
Like, he was just a burglar, but then he's like, "Oh yeah, I could do this."
Ugh.
And it's awful. And he starts having his way with her, and she starts reaching for anything she can while he's doing his thing, and she grabs an apple paperweight off the side table.
And she smacks him in the head with it as he drops the gun. So she's like seeing the gun in his hand. When he drops it, she hits him over the head. Then she gets up, grabs
whacks him a couple times at the apple, and then grabs an iron nearby and uses the point of the iron to give him the coup de grace, as it were.
And she kills him.
And as a palate cleanse, we quickly cut to an old lady making eggs.
Okay, so here's where you get the like comic relief character of this movie, which is really odd, is this landlady who's the nosiest landlady of all time.
I see this lady's arc, or this lady's involvement, as sort of a Jessica Fletcher. Like, she and her dog solve crimes.
Okay, so her
in the
dog,
most obnoxious way.
by the way,
she's just this irritating old woman,
nonstop.
Yeah, with a little dog, and they solve murders in
on
New York City.
IMDb.
But they're only in this building.
Yeah, this building is a
This
murder
building is terrible.
On IMDb,
I watched the shit out of that.
The dog is credited second.
Yeah.
On IMDb, is named Phil.
That makes sense. Phil is probably the second most important character in this movie.
Phil is a little son of a bitch. He never shuts up. He never stops
Just
barking.
like the lady.
Dogs resemble their owners in a lot of ways.
So she's cooking eggs. She's like, Phil. And he's just sitting there barking.
That's a nice little moment to get our wind back, and then we go back to the
palate
apartment.
cleanse,
Where, now that our palate's been cleansed, we have Thana she's got a dead body on her floor.
Yeah, she
And-
drags him into a tub.
And she looks over to the bathroom where she sees the tub and the cleaning supplies. And she's getting an idea.
So she drags him over to the tub, and then there's like a knock at the door or something like that. She thinks she hears something. She goes out. She cleans up in a hurry, goes to answer the door. There's nobody there. And then we just cut to her back at work. And then this is when the designer's being a dick. And I do like this part, is he goes, "I said V-neck!
Not a scoop
neck!"
And this is significant because as he says that, he rips the front of the garment that's on the mannequin, and Thana sees him do this and then turns her attention toward the trash can next to him. And so it's triggering in her mind, the tearing of the clothes and the trash can, bringing her right back to what just happened. And she starts to have a panic attack.
Yeah, she
Comedy podcast.
And she also gets that good idea when she sees that guy and he's changed in the trash can. She's like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, it's kind of a double whammy.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds her and then gives her an idea of what to do about the corpse back home.
And then this is when everybody, again, they treat her like a child. It's like, "What's wrong, Dana? What's wrong?" And you have this great scene where the camera's getting really close and out of focus, and it's just crowding, and it feels very
They handle that
claustrophobic.
really well. Like, you feel like you're right there with her.
And she's just, you can tell one of her points when she's just trying to shut off everything, but it's not working, and it's overwhelming to her. Then we just immediately cut to her. She's back at home. She's looking at that dead body, and she's like, "Shit, what am I going to do about this?"
It's been a day.
This thing is
I haven't showered.
Not getting any less rape.
So she went out and bought as much newspaper as she could, She obviously got the Post. You know what I mean? Just wrap that garbage up. She cuts this guy up into pieces.
She's dismembering this guy with a bread knife.
It is great.
Do you know how much sawing you'd have to do? Have you gotten through like a really hard bread with a bread knife? Now imagine bone and sinew. She's going to have an arm like Popeye at the end of this.
Now here's the thing about it is that she doesn't seem mortified in the slightest.
Nope.
She actually seems to kind of be enjoying the monotony of it.
There's a serenity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a therapeutic.
She's just
Look
kind
on
of
her
just
face.
going through, and then you
Because as
get
we
that-
discussed, like this is where it was inevitably gonna go with her anyway. This horrible day just sped up the process.
Yeah. And so she just plops down that arm. I love that shot, that bloody arm in the New York Post, and wraps it up in that garbage newspaper.
A perfect wrap. Yeah, like she worked at the meat department.
Yeah.
Or
and
Chipotle.
she starts putting it into trash bags. Then she stuffs it in her fridge. Here's the thing.
This is like pieces.
Yeah. She's emptied the whole fridge.
Yeah.
Like, because this guy's taking up too much room. She's got like everything. Like the
It's like
Heinz
Heinz
is out.
ketchup is
Yeah.
on the counter.
Because we had
Head of
just
lettuce.
yeah, all that's gonna go bad now.
Yeah, do you think
one way or
Abel-
another your apartment's gonna smell?
You think Abel is like, look, do you think we can clear this with Heinz? They'd be interested. You think
What
the
a
Heinz
time
company
for
be
product
interested?
placement. much like in Pieces. Yeah, because we recently watched Pieces, a little part of me was like, is she gonna start putting together the perfect man?
Just from various guys
From
around
the
the
pieces
street.
of the imperfect men she
Yeah,
encounters.
and she's like, I don't have to listen to him talk.
And I gotta say, this is a great. As she does this, she's also scrubbing the tub where blood had hit the walls from when she was doing it. I was like, well, speaking of product placement, this would be a perfect opportunity for Mr. Clean to show up. Yeah, he just shows up. He's like, hey, can I help you with this? And she kills him too.
Yeah, she just looks at the bottle and is just like, this look.
Mr. Clean just smiles at her and she starts cutting on him.
So we cut to later. She's just grappling with everything. She tries to take a shower, but as she tries to take her shirt off, she gets more flashbacks.
She's
to the
having
first rape.
hallucinations now.
Yeah. Then there's that part.
Well, there's a really good moment when she's preparing for the shower, and we talked about this earlier, kind of to the juxtaposition with "I Spit on Your Grave," where Thana is starting to undress. Imagine in the Grindhouse theaters in 1981.
Yeah.
This is that moment that the guys think that they're going to get rewarded for watching the movie, is being able to see a woman's breasts.
Yeah.
She has her shirt completely unbuttoned, and before she opens, we get a jump scare.
Yeah.
With the rapist hand reaching in to her shirt.
As we would say on a lesser quality movie, Hard Than Soft, Tanner.
Hard than
Yeah.
soft.
This is weaponizing hard than soft.
And so with I Spit on Your Grave, the difference is like that is a 12-minute harrowing rape sequence. That
And not in the way that like Irreversible does.
right.
Because that has a very long rape sequence, but you're supposed to be disgusted and horrified. In something like I Spit on Your Grave, they weirdly try to titillate with a
Yeah,
rape
it
scene.
is, and that's part of why I really like I Spit on Your Grave, is that there's this kind of torturing of the audience in the movie, is that they're like, okay, you're going to get slightly titillated by this. This is a long sequence.
I really want you to feel
Naked
bad
woman.
for getting a little turned
Yeah,
on
you're
here.
like, oh, did you enjoy that? Did you enjoy that? Now watch this guy's dick get cut off. Now watch real life ramifications of this horrible behavior, and that is taken to the extreme in I Spit on Your Grave. In this is really the only moment in Miss 45 with the about to take a shower. And then
Yeah.
it moves on, because that's not what the movie is doing. It never tries to titillate. It never tries to
Yeah.
make this this is why
You know,
this
come to
movie
think
is
of it-
exploitation, but it's not that kind of exploitation.
No.
It's sort of a commentary on exploitation.
Yes.
Because this is not by any means the first rape revenge movie. This is after many have come out already at this point. I think this is sort of taking an angle on that and like,
Yeah.
here's how we can make this a bit more artful.
So here's the thing.
Do we even have any female nudity in this movie?
No. There's no nudity in this
None
movie.
at all,
There's,
which is
like,
unexpected
One
in a movie.
shot of like her butt during the
Right,
rape
right.
sequence, but it's just very quick, not titillating at all. So
Thankfully.
yeah. So what snaps her out of that is that she hears a bubbling in the tub, and now here's what I'm wondering, guys: do you think this is supposed to actually have happened, or
No.
kind of just a mental thing?
I
thought it
thought it was part of the hallucination.
Yeah, I thought it was reminding. It was kind of. It snapped her out of it, and it reminded her that like.
To clarify to our listeners who hasn't seen the film, some ground beef starts bubbling up out of the tub drain.
Yeah. Which I viewed as like maybe one of her things, like telling herself mentally, like, no, that's over now. Because she'll never go back to like being a victim in that sense
Like
anymore.
it's a point counterpoint with her first hallucination.
Yes, is that like
the hand grabs her and then she sees the meat coming up through the tub and went, no.
yeah.
Anyone
it's
who
like-
does that becomes meat now.
Yes, exactly. So I was wondering, is that real, or do you think it was just a hallucination?
I thought it was real.
I will say, personal story. One
my
time,
God.
and I don't know how this all connects and works, but at an old apartment I once lived in, I once
Oh,
had
boy.
spaghetti come up through my tub drain.
Okay. At least you
that
said
was-
spaghetti. I thought you were going to say I had some guts come up.
No,
through and
but
I was like,
had,
well, I didn't kill that guy.
I had some weird thing unexpectedly come up out of my tub drain. It was like I didn't know it even connected to the plumbing that my garbage disposal was connected to.
Just, ragu.
It's the weirdest shit to have happen. You're like, wait, is my tub backing up? And then like noodles are coming up through the thing. Like, wait, what?
Is this like the worst ghost from Ghostbusters?
Seriously, it's a
spaghetti
dumb
ghost?
haunting. I got Chef Boyardee's go.
So we go to the next morning. Thanos taking out the trash, right? So this is another thing, is that there's two reasons for what she's doing, I think, and that like one, it is smart because she's not just disposing of this body all at once in the trash in her own building. And the other thing, I think it's pleasure. I think that every day that she goes out, she brings a little piece of the new her with her, and it's like sort of like symbolizing the transformation of who she'll become at the end.
Totally. It's therapy.
Yeah,
for her.
it's just every day she brings out a little bit of peace to remind herself
Of the
who she-
victim she used to be.
Yeah, and like never going back to that again. But I do like this. She's walking out with this trash bag, and the landlady shows up with Phil. Phil's real interested in this trash bag.
Well, Phil's on the case. This
Phil's
is
like,
not
"Murderer, murderer."
This is far from his first murder that he's trying to solve in this building.
Like, she just doesn't get it yet. You're right. It's kind of like Angela Lansbury. Like, if she'd only listened to Phil, he's like, she's a murderer.
Like, I want to actually write this. I want to write. We're going to pilot for this like bumbling Miss Marple who has a dog who figures it out. It's like Inspector Gadget with brain. Like the dog is the one who solved it all.
They're just she's like, oh, what do you got, trash? I'll take out your trash for you. I'll do this. And she's just like, just leave me alone.
You know, like your landlord does. Hey, what are you up to? Let me take out your trash for you. But that's part of what you were saying about because of her condition, everyone treats her like a baby.
Yeah. Everybody treats her like a child.
Which I'm sure actually happens to people who are mute or,
Oh, yeah.
or deaf
Yeah.
or anything like
Yeah.
that. It's like,
Or
I'm not stupid. I just
Any
have a
disability,
anything
there's
at
going to
all.
be some level.
And I think that's like, this movie would not be the same if she wasn't mute. Like,
Oh,
that is
it's a big part of the film.
such a huge part of the character and the commentary that it's making, I think, is that just, again, they're treating like any sort of handicap, that most outward handicap, they're blaming on every problem that
And
somebody has.
The scenes are so strong because she never speaks.
Yeah,
Like
and
the
she,
intensity of just her stares and her facial expressions and everything.
and she rarely, if ever, writes anything. And the few
I
things
think
that
there's only
she
two
does
times
write,
she ever writes anything down.
and they end up being pretty powerful things
Yeah.
that she writes, and she's very blunt. She's not, even
got no time.
No. So she's walking down the street with her bag of parts. She throws it away in a random trash can. I was like, it's a smart idea.
It's smart if executed pretty well. I think you can get away with this.
Oh yeah, there's no cameras.
Unless
or
you go to a
anything back
dumpster where evil's hanging out. Then
Yeah.
you're going to open it up and he's going to be sitting there with his lighter.
So then we go to her work. Thana zones out while she's ironing a piece of cloth, and she burns
It's a
it.
big old Dilbert burn in that shirt.
And then, and the designer comes up, and he's just like, here's the thing is, like, he's not mean to her in this part, which he, like, totally could be.
Well, however, he views her as a dumb kid who
I
doesn't
know.
know.
He's like, oh, what's wrong? What's
happened?
wrong,
No.
sweetie?
And he's always got like a hand on her neck or on her shoulder or something, a little paw at the hair. It's just little microaggressions that make you go, oh, dude.
This is the other thing. It's that, like, yeah, he treats her as a child, but then he, like, sexualizes her, but as a child, which is very disturbing because he wants that, like, bizarre fantasy. Because if you notice, he never goes for the other girls. He just goes for Thana. And whether it's
Which,
an attraction to the
honestly,
weakness or her being like a child to him.
As weird as it sounds, it makes this character far creepier than the two rapists we already had to watch.
Well, yeah, as Zoe said, yeah, it's...
As Zoe said in the interview, that's the real rapist in this movie is this guy.
So then we cut to one of my favorite characters in the movie, Pompadour dude.
Oh,
yeah.
this kid.
So we got...
Monologuing like nobody's business. I
He's
love this
standing
guy.
on the
Okay.
corner outside of the corner market.
Did
with a
any of
blind
you
man.
else get this? This is like the original Jay and Silent Bob. It's like,
It's Jay and Blind Bob.
yes, it's Jay and Blind Bob because the guy's just an old man who's blind that sits there and does not talk, and he's like, "I'll fuck this bitch, I'll fuck this bitch, I'll fuck any bitch that moves."
Noise.
Yeah.
And what's funny too is like clearly they told him to take it for a walk. They told him like, hey, just say some shit, man, just go for it. And unlike, say, that dude in Angel who goes off on a monologue,
Oh man,
this kid seems nervous and not sure what to say.
he seems like
He's like,
like
yeah.
Jay to me from the first Clerks. Like,
Jay at least exuded confidence. This guy's like, baby doll. Hey,
Well,
honey,
Where you going?
where you going? What are
Where
you
you
doing?
going?
What are you doing? What are you doing?
You late
Huh?
for work or something?
There you at. There you go. There you go.
it did kind of remind me though of like because Jay in the original movie, like it Clerks,
Yeah.
he did stumble over his lines a whole bunch.
Oh, because he was just
you
making
know?
it up as he went.
Yeah, and like he kind of had the same quality, and I was laughing to myself.
I hate men. I love women. I was
Yeah.
hoping the Berserker guy would show up.
Maybe if he'd hung around a little longer, you know, he's like, I got this friend coming from out of town, man.
Did that guy just say making fuck? He's a character.
Yeah, so this pompadour dude,
Brian Setzer.
It was a fucking sha-na-na.
he's just like he
By the
looks
way,
like
also,
he's trying
the
out for the
blind
new
man's
monkeys.
glasses aren't opaque, which
No.
made it look. I thought he was wearing like 3D shades or like some kind of X-ray specs he got from a comic book.
Oh,
He's got glaucoma.
so then he notices Thana walking, right? Because she gets out of a cab, I believe it
Yeah.
is, and he knows her walking down the street with the
And-
bag, and he's like, because he strikes out with a couple girls walking by. He's like, "Hey, baby, hey,
Get bent, loser.
Yeah, because he's not good at it.
No, no one's giving him the time of day, and so he decides to kind of, Michael Jackson, way you make me feel. Like he's trying to he's gonna follow her down the street and
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna do this like a music video style. You know,
just-
maybe I'll try
yeah.
it out. Yeah, because there's nothing better that a woman alone wants is a strange man to follow her. I look like a normal dude. I got this big pompadour, these skin tight jeans, doing my type 5 in front of the liquor store.
God, he looks like Goofy turned human.
So then she drops one of her bags, right?
And this was not her best trash drop, honestly, because she's out in the open dropping a really strange bag of individually wrapped things.
Yeah. But Pompadour sees it and he's like, and you almost wonder, Bobby, did she know he was following her? Because she does
Maybe.
kind of drop it real quickly and then run off.
However, the way she drops it is clearly, I don't want this returned to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
I
like
don't
she doesn't
know.
drop it in a way that's like, "Ooh, I accidentally dropped this bag. Come follow me." It was like a very deliberate. I am
was a
leaving
drop,
this
yeah.
here.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to watch it again and just think about
And
it.
no
It's like-
matter how big your pompadour is, if you see somebody deliberately put a bag down full of discreetly wrapped things, don't touch the bag.
oh, but this guy is like, bingo. Like, he's just, yeah, here we go. I'm
there's
the hero now.
There's a certain point, like, do you believe his intention is legit to
hell
pick
no.
up the bag?
Tanner, this is, to him, he's like, I've seen movies that start like this.
I feel like this is sort
one
of
of them.
a weird middle ground. Like he doesn't have the confidence to do anything, but this was his icebreaker. This is my chance to talk to somebody.
Bobby, I think he heard bump, 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 bump in his head and was just like, this is how it starts, man.
That's all I got to do.
Yep. I've seen this in countless movies by myself with the tissues.
Like this is not
I
a
got
guy
it.
who has a plan, who has a stage C of his plan. I just I didn't know what he was gonna do if he caught the car he was chasing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's like a dog with a car.
Exactly. He's like, I wouldn't know what to do if none has ever stopped yet, so I don't know what to do next.
So he finally got that chance to return a bag to a lady.
he
He's
is
been
like-
trying to catch purse snappers for months, and he's like, oh, it's just easier if they drop their own bag.
This guy's sprint is so cartoonish. Just his lanky limbs just flailing
And
about.
it's crazy. His run is ridiculous, but Thana just quick walks everywhere, but somehow manages to be a block ahead of him
Yeah.
no matter what.
It's Freddy and Jason.
yeah.
So
Because Freddy does the
Here-
rubber arms.
here's the most interesting thing about this scene, because she runs and he follows and she knows he's following, and she brings him down into an alleyway and she looks around,
Sees
right?
that no one's around.
There's nobody around. You think that she's looking to see if there's an exit. I don't think she's looking for an exit.
I can see that. I can see that the decision got made halfway through this.
Yes, because she brings him to someplace she knows nobody's there, right? She's looking, is there an exit? There are exits, because she could get into the building because the doors are open, but she chooses not to. The guy runs up behind her, and she spins around and immediately just
She
shoots
quick
him
draws
right in the
and gets
head.
him right between the eyes.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I think she is, because the way it's shot is also frantic when
Yeah.
she's looking.
Yeah.
I almost
it's
has
not
a-
her.
she definitely has a
checking
look of
her ways
panic on
out.
her
Yeah.
face.
Here's the
It's
thing,
not-
though. I don't think it's panicking. I think it's like adrenaline. Like it's like this is like she's doing what she planned on doing.
Well, I definitely think that this is a more defining moment than her first kill.
Yes.
Like this is when she gets a taste for it.
But it's like it's interesting how it's shot because it could go two ways. It could go that she's worried that she's going to get assaulted again, so she's taking it in her own hands, or she's actively catching prey. Because for the rest of the movie, she will never even hesitate.
Well,
to do
because
the
it
action
spirals
she does.
further each
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And is like, was she doing this on purpose by dropping
That's
that
where
bag?
I'm kind of
and-
the middle ground between both of you fellas. Is that I think this is where the switch gets flipped. I think it starts off how Tanner sees it, and it turns into how you see it, Mike.
But see, I
think,
don't
like,
know. I don't know if it's that or not. I'm just wondering if that's what the intention was, and that's like what the actual character thing was. I don't know if that we're being set up as the audience or not to think one way.
And that's why it's such a good movie.
That is
We
because
could watch the scene and have our own interpretations,
and we can
That-
actually discuss it.
Yeah, that there's elements of the scene and the way it's shot and the way it's performed that allow us to discuss.
A lesser film would have had her go, "I've got you now."
yeah, exactly.
And
She
then
one
shoots
liner.
her.
Yeah, but it's so interesting the idea of playing between that fear and adrenaline line and wondering. Is she afraid, or is she afraid because she's going to get attacked, or afraid because this is her first attack? And I don't know. But either way, she shoots this dude dead, just not a care in the world, leaves him, goes back home.
And I just realized she must take the bag, right? Because there's no reference of his body being found with a bag with human body parts.
Yeah.
She must
So-
have redistributed the.
Yeah, she must have taken the bag and dumped it.
Yeah.
because she
It's
can't leave it
interesting.
here now.
Yeah.
And that's that great shot, by the way, after she shoots the guy, where she's just like coming down from this high almost.
Yeah.
And it's just like she's got that adrenaline pumping and she's just breathing to herself. And like she looks scared, but almost like satisfied in a weird way.
She's
It's very,
scared and exhilarated.
Yeah.
It was a release.
And again, the performance is like with the lesser performance, I don't know if it would have been the same.
Yeah,
Because it's
and
really
with
good.
lesser direction too, because we're not glorifying it, but it's also a little, like you feel what she's feeling about what that experience would probably be like.
Yeah.
And you understand her reaction.
Yeah.
So that guy did not deserve to get shot in the head, but you understand why she shot him in the head.
Yeah,
Yeah, because at this point you think, oh, maybe she was just scared.
and
you
by
know?
showing him first, because they never needed to show us him catcalling women on the street and being generally kind of a creep to people. I think they wanted it to be kind of ambiguous for us, like we don't know who we side with here.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
didn't do anything to her.
Exactly.
But he
Pompadour-
was one of those kinds of guys.
It's like, well, but here's the thing: is like Pompadour guy wasn't really, because he was kind of like those guys, but he wasn't exactly like he wasn't planning on attacking her.
But he represented those kinds of people.
You can still be bad at the bad thing and still be the bad thing.
Yeah,
He's just
but
bad at
like
being
I don't
the
think he
guy.
was gonna like corner her in the alley and try to rape her. I think he was just like you
He
said.
seemed a little
he's
more lighthearted,
The dog
but he
with
was
the
still-
car,
yeah.
and he's like would probably go like, "Oh, you left your bag."
Yeah, I
And-
feel
But
like
but
once
that's
he got
really-
her quartered, he'd be like, "You want to go out sometime?"
yeah, and
Yeah,
then
would you
like
And
do
then
it on
like
Saturday.
get nervous and like look at his shoes and like leave. 'cause
Yeah,
that was the character
exactly.
but he's still one of those kinds of people, that doesn't respect women. That is salacious
And the
and solicitous.
Thana doesn't know he's not one of those guys.
Right.
no.
So
And
that's
knowing what she's already been through, you totally get why
Right.
she would be like, "Oh shit!" What did
and that's kind of how it speaks to the larger female experience. Like
Anybody can
I've
be
been
one
the
of those
big guy
guys.
in the elevator when the woman gets on alone. I know what she's thinking, and she probably like it's one of those things where like I know I have to act a certain way because
Yeah.
I don't want her to think or feel like something horrible is going to happen.
You're a very
But she
imposing
doesn't
figure.
know that. Yeah.
I mean, you're listeners who haven't seen Tanner. He's Sweetums from the Muppets.
He's
He's this massive, hairy dude.
He's Paul
Pieces.
Smith.
He's Paul Smith.
We've established
And honestly,
this. Tanner
I
is
think,
the Paul Smith.
I
of
think most
Grindbin.
people would agree they'd rather get on an elevator with the Shadow hiding a chainsaw behind his back than your big ass.
You're like the lovable Paul Smith. All right.
Yeah.
The more lovable Paul Smith.
So Thana runs into her apartment. She puts the gun away and she throws up. And here's the thing: is like you don't know yet. Like she's grappling with what she's becoming, basically.
Yeah.
Is that it's like, and you could almost view this as like she's kind of purging her old self. Is that like it's completely gone at this point? Is that she's like getting rid of it?
Yeah.
She's throwing up.
I
She's
looked at it
getting
kind of that way
all
too.
out.
It's also like a Jekyll Hyde transformation moment, or you know, like she's turning into something else, and that's as she goes into the throes of the change of it.
And if you see it, you'll start noticing after this is when, well, we'll get to it. So the landlady comes up, right? And this is what we get. She's just like, Dana, I saw you.
I heard you running up the stairs. Then I heard you throwing up. Are you okay? Santa, answer the door. Are you okay? I heard you throwing
And
up.
Phil's just
That's
like,
for
just
5
keep her
minutes.
busy, lady.
Yeah.
Just keep her busy. I'm on the hunt.
So here's the thing. Phil goes right for that fridge, and he's like, murderer. And he's just barking at it, right? And this is when I wrote, that dog's tried man meat before. You know for sure that he's had a little bit of taste of that
The
man
amount
meat.
of bodies that dog has found.
He's like those tigers and ghosts.
You know,
in the dark.
okay,
what
it's
happened
like-
to the landlady's husband? You know, I don't know.
As we write this series that we're gonna do, let's add an element. The dog is like the guy from Chew,
Yes.
the comic book series, where anything that he ingests, he gets all the history of in his brain. Have you heard of this, Mike? It's actually a pretty great comic series.
No, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, he's a cop, and if he eats something, he knows everything about where it's been. And so, in the very first issue, he's trying to get info from a guy he's shaken down, and in a moment of desperation, he bites him. And he knows everything he needs to know.
Huh. So it's just like Phil. I
Yeah,
like that.
It's Phil.
So
Also, go pick up Chew. It's
At
available
your
in any
local
comic shop.
book shop.
Great comic.
So Phil has definitely tried man meat. He knows what's up. He knows he can see Thana from a mile away. He's seen this change before, you know. We just cut to her sleeping. She's having a hard time sleeping. So
Wouldn't
she's
you?
still she's still kind of grappling with what she's done. But here it is. It's like we finally get, and I think this is the first time that we do this, is like the next morning. We finally show like a new day.
Yeah.
Which I think is like the full transformation. Is that like she's finally become a different person, and like whatever these events have done have unlocked something completely different. Because
Starting to, anyway. I think she's still a lot of the old Thana.
but what she starts doing from here on out is dressing differently
Yeah.
and like putting on makeup, because before she wouldn't put on makeup.
We're slowly adding stuff
Yeah,
to her
so she's
appearance.
becoming a woman in the traditional sense in terms of like dressing provocatively and like putting on makeup, and like she's like becoming like she starts to look like a model or something. It's
Yeah.
like an idealized, I guess, version of a lady, like something you would see out of a magazine or something. Which is an interesting transformation, I think, with the juxtaposition of the
Because
going
the
out
further
murdering
the
people.
further she starts to do this, the more men she's attracting toward her.
She's
Exactly.
turning herself into bait.
Yeah.
So we get the next morning. Murray Langston is asking for some change.
I have that
Bobby's
exactly
mad.
written. Oh, not mad. That was a yeah. Because my next note is Murray Langston.
He's doing
He
his.
is the only performance that I'm just like, oh, that's a little much.
Oh,
Just like Murray Langston.
yeah, exactly.
You're like, yeah, I could do with less of you in this movie. And then starts digging through a trash can. He's finding parts of a bagel, parts of whatnot, and he sees this bag. Goes, oh, what's this? Starts digging through the bag, and we'll give the man a hand.
Heyo.
He finds a hand and he
Shopping
goes
cart.
ah and screams. Right. We go to at work. The receptionist is reading a newspaper with the cover says like mysterious 45 killings.
Two of the smaller headlines on this about the 45 killings is one says no clues and one says bye bye Billy. I'm like, that's cold. Whoever wrote that shit, you don't even know that guy.
And Sean, thanks for telling us there's no 45. So they must be talking about different killings.
Someone's running up behind
New
every
York in
murder and shooting the
1982
guy
is
with a
rough
45.
place.
Yeah, there's just a whole different series of killings.
This has nothing to do with the movie.
And we have another interaction with her boss where he basically does that scene from the 89 Batman where he grabs Bob the goon and goes, Bob, I want you to know that you are my number one guy. Because he's like doing this like rhythmic massage of her shoulders while he's talking about how he's concerned about her.
Oh, her face in that is
Yeah.
So if you
wonderful.
notice, this is her first slight transformation to dressing more like what society would.
She's put on a little bit of makeup. Her clothes are a little more form-fitting.
She's wearing
now.
like a fashionable hat.
She's got a beret
Badass
on.
beret.
Yeah, she's got a
She's looking
beret
like a guardian
on.
angel.
She has makeup on, and like you said, Bobby, it just endears the designer to her. Like he's now looking
He's
at
so
her
much more into her than
sexually.
even before.
Yeah, as opposed to just a child, and that's why he like goes behind her and starts rubbing her shoulders, and he's like, "You're not like the other girls."
He's noticing her more now.
And this is when he starts to say, and this is the problem that we start describing, is that he says, "Because you know how to talk, because you can't talk, you can't fit in, and I know what it's like, and I see the struggle." And
This is textbook control shit.
It's
Yeah.
grooming. He's grooming her.
Yeah, he's doing all those abuser things. Yeah, he's trying to reinforce the like you need somebody to handle you.
And he says, you should be like everybody else. You should come to the Halloween party. We're going to have this big Halloween party. This guy never shuts the fuck up about the Halloween party.
Oh man, it's gonna go off, dude.
The whole time
At this
you're
point,
like,
I can't wait for the Halloween party.
the whole time you're like, okay, because there's that one person that's always like, they invite you to a party like 3 months ahead of time. You're
Oh,
like, yeah, no, I'll be there, man. And then like, the next month rolls around. They're like, so this party, you're like, yeah, I know. We're going to be there. So that's fine.
Don't worry, we're coming to your goddamn birthday party, Mike.
And then by the time it comes around, you're like, okay, I don't even want to go anymore. Just shut the fuck up.
Been built up too much. Also, I stopped liking you 1 month ago.
It's been overhyped. There's no way I'll enjoy it now.
There's no way this party can be as good as advertised at this point. Just shut up. I don't care if you have a magician.
That's why whenever I invite
Three
someone to a
magicians.
party, I try to
Spoiler
downplay
alert.
it so that they'll be more excited when they get there. They can't be disappointed. I won't hype it. I'll just be like, no one's coming. Fuck you. Anyway, please come to my party.
So he's rubbing her shoulders, and this is when she writes a note, and she just writes, "I'll try," and he views that as just like bingo.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So then a
He's
coworker,
got a nibble.
A coworker talks to her, and she's like, "Why did he bring you in our office? Is everything okay?" And she's still kind of treating her like a child, and that's when she just writes, "I wish they would just leave me alone." And I don't think
That is the most powerful
she
time that
just
she writes
means-
something down.
I just don't think that I don't think that she means just men.
She means
I think
everybody.
that she just means everybody.
I wish
Yeah.
the world would stop bothering me.
Yeah. It's just that there's so much pressure and everything to be a certain way and do this and do that. And she's just having severe mental issues and has nobody she can express this to. So then we go to a restaurant, which we again kind of play up on that.
Yeah, we're at
is
like this local burger place. All the ladies gathered for lunch.
one of the funniest scenes in the movie is that this dude and a lady are making out.
Oh, we're let's use the right terminology. We're sucking face.
Yeah, it's
This
really
is,
disturbing.
He's just like like
Picture
he's-
this man.
It's like a starving fish.
He's Sean Penn in Carlito's Way.
Going back to Pieces, I thought this guy was Kendall James, campus stud.
Oh yeah. Hey, over the weekend actually, I did see Kendall James, campus stud type of guy, making out with a lady in the middle of the fucking street in Glendale when I'm driving.
Dude, it works.
We rolled down the window and just
You gotta
went,
be like
"Woo!"
Kendall.
Fox as fuck.
we thought we'd give him a little inspiration. Cheer him on, know that somebody's behind you in your public display of affection, sticking your tongue down somebody's throat in the middle of a street.
Hey, we've all been young, but I don't think you have an excuse when you're in your 30s.
Oh yeah, he was in his 30s.
Yeah, like if you're a teenager, we've all been in that situation where you're like, I don't care who's looking, let's do this.
I said
I'll
to
drop
the
trout
people
right here in this mall.
I said to the people in the car, I'm like, they're kids. And then I believe it was my friend Amber, who's on a show,
Previous episode.
had said, no, I think he's older than us.
Good Lord. No excuse for that, then.
No.
You need
a
to
man
grow
in his
up, sir.
40s making out in the middle of the street?
By the
Come
time you're in
on.
your mid to late 30s, you should have places you can take a person if you want to make out.
By 35, you should have a place.
By 35, you should have places to make out.
Yeah. He's like, Mom's still home. I just texted her. She's going to leave
Look,
soon.
The economy took a shit. There's tough times. Have you been to Denver? It's a war zone.
So Thana watches these two people make out. I love this. So this is when sassy coworker just
What are we at the zoo? She
I
does
love her
type
so
five.
much.
we are playing this audio for sure. It's
Yeah.
the most New Yorker that a New Yorker could be.
I don't know why we keep coming to this place. We barely have time for coffee now.
Hey, Mrs. Onassis, what about the coffee we
I'll get
ordered?
it for you right now.
No, skip the coffee. Just give us the check. We have to get back to work.
Okay, you want separate?
Just put it on one. What do we look like, strangers over here?
Okay.
What is this, a zoo? They look like a couple of monkeys going at it. Hey, lady, we're trying to eat over here.
This is a restaurant. It's not Plato's Retreat.
And I like this. She goes, "This is a restaurant, not Plato's Retreat." I'm like, man,
It's
throwing
topical
a fucking-
reference, yeah.
Greek mythology.
Man.
No, that was a
history
reference
out.
to a sex club
Yeah.
that was in New
Oh,
York.
well, there you go.
You don't know that? Am I the only one who knows?
No.
Yeah, Plato's
I thought
Retreat
this was just like a
Oh,
Greek
Tanner's
thing.
been many times. He's got the
Yeah.
punch card almost filled out.
Yeah.
Is this in the
there used
Fear
to be
City?
It might be as a place to avoid because cops hate fun. But no, Plato's Retreat was a sex club in New York, like famous sex club. It's probably not on there anymore, but Netflix used to have a great documentary about it where they
really?
interviewed people like the regulars.
Okay, I'm gonna seek
there's
that
this
out.
There's this great scene of this 70-year-old woman being like, "I had my first girl that night."
Oh my god.
like, oh, grandma.
Okay, so it's a New York reference.
It's
I
a
like
New
that
York
even
reference.
more.
At the time, I think it was one of those things that if Johnny Carson might have made a joke about it, it was mainstream enough that people knew there was a sex club.
It would have been
called
on his
Plato's Retreat.
Swami thing or whatever he does. He goes, ah.
Did
Plato's
you watch
Retreat?
Wild Wild Country where on Netflix? Where he
No,
sings
I have
the
not.
bog. Oh, there's a weird. Oh, it's a side note. Make it a mini bin. Never mind. Move on.
That's wild. That's it's wild, funny stuff.
I think my favorite one, have you ever seen that one? It's a clip he did. Is a Swami character.
Oh, Karnak.
Yeah, where he
One of the Inhumans?
where he does this thing and he goes, it was something. It was a joke. It was like where Yul Brenner's wife went on their honeymoon, Mount Baldy.
That's pretty good. Not gonna lie. I like that
I
one.
did like that one. Yeah. So this dude finishes.
Still got it, Johnny.
This dude finishes making out with his lady. She leaves.
She has to catch a bus or something.
Yeah, and then he just goes right over to the sewing lady. He's like, "Hey, what's going on,
Yeah,
ladies?"
it's
huh?"
a numbers game.
And this dude,
buy you guys a drink or something.
He's just working game on anyone who'll listen.
this guy is like classic Gutenberg. Like he's got
Oh,
the
yeah.
Guten perm, like the same type of members only jacket charm.
Yeah.
You know,
He's got Harold Ramis thing going on.
he's
like,
like a.
wrinkly dress shirt that's like unbuttoned but has a tie that's pulled all the,
The
way
loose
up.
Oh
tie.
yeah, and the huge glasses,
Like
right?
he's going for just been fucked everything. Like it's all disheveled.
He
and
walks
what he wasn't
over-
counting on though is he's talking to Ajax from the Warriors. It was just like, hey, you fucking wimp, get bent.
Okay, he
Gonna
goes
bust
over.
your head open.
He goes over. He goes, "Pretty ladies," which is like Jesus.
He should have been chewing a carrot when he did that.
She looks up at him. She says, "The quote is."
I'm buying.
Fuck off. You heard me. Get fucked. Get bent. Fucking wimp. Get the hell out of here.
alright.
Beat it, scram. Get bent.
easy.
Take it easy, my ass. Bleed the nerve of this guy.
And he walks on out. So they all the other girls leave Thana alone, right? And she's just sitting there, just in her own little world. And she's,
Finally, time for my books.
yeah, she's left.
All the time in the world.
She's left alone with Casanova.
She writes there was time now.
I write this guy. His name is Casanova.
Oh, it
to me,
totally is.
right.
I wish that goggles from Pieces would have popped up behind him in a Halloween mask.
So Casanova's finishing his lunch too. He sees Thana leave after she gets the change from the waitress. She walks out, and then he pays for his meal real quick and follows
And
her.
he becomes the Tails to her Sonic. He's just everywhere she goes, he's right there.
And he's like, "Hey, I'm a fashion photographer. Hey, what are you, a model or
You
something?"
can't be
Oh.
a model. You're much too beautiful to be a model,
And like, I do love this guy's New York accent though. He's laying it on thick,
We got it in the. You're dropping it in.
Oh, of course. And he's like, "Look, when I see beauty, I gotta go after it.
If you know what I mean.
I'm an artist.
I'm an artist." He does. A true artist, Tanner. So he's like, "Hey, why don't you come over to my place? We'll do a little little photo shoot, smoke a little weed. You like
pot?
weed?
Hey, I got pot. Everybody
Yeah.
likes pot. Come on.
He goes, "Got some wine? Hey, you got nothing to lose, eh?" And then he grabs her hand, and this is kind of her like. At first, she was trying to ignore him because she does walk away from him when he's talking to her at first.
Yeah.
But then he follows her again. He
It's
grabs
really
her hand.
interesting because she just kind of dead stares him and then just goes with him.
Yeah.
Like it's like he's talking to Michael Myers.
So they go up to his. Yeah, it's much. She's kind of like Michael Myers ago. So then they go up this elevator in his house, right? They get up to the photo shoot. He's like, hey, you ever seen like a camera?
Yeah, it opens up to he's got his guy's backdrop. He's got all the camera equipment set up. He's got a whole studio set up.
By the way, I was like, real fashion shoot.
Right.
Like that's this guy got some butcher paper. He's like, it looks
This is
just like the real thing, right? You got the white background.
This is some real Craigslist shit, man.
Yeah, and he's got like his fucking, secondhand lights he's got there, like his LOL kit that he bought. And he's just got his little film. He's got, let me fill it in with
Kodak
my
disposable propped up on a tripod.
I only got Fuji.
And so yeah, he's pointing at all this stuff. He turns around like, what do you think? And then blammo!
Yeah.
Starts taking squibs, man.
She empties a whole
clip in
And
it.
somebody off camera empties an entire bag of fake blood and just flings it.
It's like a paintbrush. Like
It comes
flung out
from
of the
off
backdrop.
the side of the screen while this guy's getting shot. You just see splash.
It gets all over that butcher paper, right? And then we just cut to her back at home.
Oh, no, I love the way it's shot. Like, it's on him when he gets shot, and then there's like shots of him falling and everything. The blood flung on the white sheet. But then she just puts the gun away and steps back into the elevator and closes.
And the doors close.
Yeah.
Like, I love
Great
that
shot.
shot. Like,
Awesome.
it
It
only
is
took the time
so
of the
good.
elevator door opening and closing for
It's over that fast.
Yeah.
Which is kind of showing us like she's already made up her mind.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
there's no decisions to
Also-
be made anymore.
This is when I first started to think about this, but 1981 New York. Everyone is so used to hearing gunshots all the time that like no one comes running,
Yeah.
no one
Nice.
reacts. She's not like she has a silencer on the thing or anything. It's just everyone's immune to the sound of gunshots in this movie.
I mean, I'm
Nobody
sure
gives a shit.
all of us here have heard gunshots.
I live in
all live in
not the
city.
best neighborhood. We all live in urban areas, I've definitely heard many times. I've and then found out the next morning that like, oh, someone got murdered at the ATM up the street.
And you know what you never do? Go outside.
Fuck no.
You just go like, well,
You want to
make
hear
sure
more
the doors
gunshots?
are
Go
locked.
see what that noise was.
So she's back at home. This is great. This is like when she's finally made like almost the full transition, is that she's putting on the red lipstick in the mirror and she's like wearing a bunch of makeup
And
now.
she's going to town with this lipstick. Like it's clearly it crosses. It starts off as like an attractive thing that's it's supposed to be like, oh, hey, look at her, but then she keeps going around her lips with the thing, and it gets crazier by the second.
Yeah.
You start to go, oh no, this is she's getting very unhinged.
This scene has been recreated in, I would say, Showgirls. Paul Verhoeven did this with Nomi right before she goes and kills the singer at the end of Buffalo Bill. She murders him with long hair, which is a really odd choice. And they also in Inglourious Bastards, right before she burns down the theater, same type of thing.
There's also a touch of this in Machete.
Yes, yeah.
More
which will be,
so a later scene in this movie.
Yeah.
But Machete also paid homage to Ms. 45.
So she's got a bunch of makeup on. She's wearing like all skin tight leather outfit now.
Oh, she looks like a badass.
She's like
She's
doing
awesome.
the Linda Blair Savage Streets thing, where she didn't get in the tub.
She's like
thank
if
God.
Linda Blair put on the catsuit and then threw a nice sweater over it.
See, Linda thought she was going to be in a Miss 45. She's like, do I really got to get in the tub?
Just throwing this out here for you guys. This movie, but starring Linda Blair.
I wouldn't have been the same.
And she'd probably talk.
Oh, yeah. There's no way Linda would do without talking.
I'm never letting this happen again. Great, Linda. Thanks.
Yeah, she shoots the Pompadour guy. She's like, nice hair. You know?
Exactly.
Linda, no, this is not going to work.
Looks like the only photos are going to be taken by the police.
Because you're dead.
Doors closed. Ding!
The perm gets stuck in the door. So she turns out the light, heads out for the night with another bag of body parts, of course, because the transformation is almost complete. She leaves. Her landlord's like, why are you in all this makeup? Here's the other thing is we introduce this bizarre like Jersey dude that lives
her
in the
neighbor.
building who's like some... Like
Goomba?
what is this guy? Like
He's
some
just
sort of
the landlady's assistant.
Yeah, he's like, hey, what's going on, huh?
And he has the weirdest mouth I've ever seen in a motion picture.
He's like the Tony Danza. Like he's just like a Tony Danza looking dude.
Angela. Mona.
He's like, whoa, she's got all makeup on. And they're like, yeah, you're looking all makeup. And then she just walks right past them.
As anyone should.
Yeah, and she leaves a note with her. We don't see what she wrote, but the landlady, she's like, what do you mean?
Staying at a friend's house tonight.
What friend?
You don't have friends.
So then I love this is like, this is when you realize that she has no intention of hiding these body parts, is because she goes to the Port Authority, rents a locker, puts the body parts in the locker, and then just places the key right on top of the ashtray.
Yeah.
in plain sight. Doesn't throw away the key. She wants people
Well,
to
I'm sure
find
she's been
it.
following the news and they have no leads.
But this is the thing, is like, she's no longer hiding who she is.
Yeah.
She's now brazen
She's
about
Miss
it.
45
yeah.
now.
She is Miss 45, and now it's like, I'm not even going to hide it in a trash can anymore. I want to be who I am. So, like, this is what I'd say is the full transformation in this. She's got her new outfit on, and she's just going to say, I'm a fucking murderer, and nobody's going to believe it, you know?
Okay, that's the one line she says in this movie. I'm a fucking murderer.
And then he goes, wah, wah.
Spins the gun, puts it back in her purse.
But it's an interesting thing of her, like, what makes her feel complete is just this bizarre bloodlust that she develops and having this power over everybody else.
Which I feel would happen. If you became a vigilante killer, if you became the Punisher, like, you'd start getting off on it.
Well, here's the part where we kind of go too far. And that we've been kind of on her side for some of this, and that, like, yeah, she's getting back at people, but then she's kind of killing in these gray areas where we're like, I don't know, maybe Pompadour maybe did deserve that. That fashion photographer guy, I mean,
They were
wasn't
both being
assaulting
creeps,
her.
but they weren't doing anything.
They were
Yeah.
killable offenses.
Like, the fashion guy was being creepy, but
She's
he's sure
killing
as
people
hell,
before they've committed the crime.
Yeah. And the other two, it's like, I don't think they would have committed the crime. I think that's still a very big gray area. Like, the fashion
Yeah.
guy probably would have tried to kiss on
they
her.
play with
and-
that because you, of course, as a viewer, are like, yeah, these guys kind of have it coming, but like,
Yeah, you're still in the back of your mind,
especially
like, I
that the
don't know.
photographer guy. You're like, I could have seen it going that way with that guy because his intention was to get her under the influence of a bunch of different substances and then have his way with her.
Yeah. So it starts out this night as she does do very much Charles Bronson.
This is this is the Punisher.
So she goes and sees a pimp, and he's like beating up this hooker, and
It's
he's like,
classic, like, where's my money? He starts wailing on this girl, and then from the safety of the alleyway.
by the way, though, did you hear what he did to the hooker? I was
Yeah.
like, man, fucking internal affairs over here.
It was a good plan to
that's what I'm saying. He's got
test the loyalty.
an inside man, because he goes, no, that guy gave you $100. I paid him $100 to give you $100. See if you give me my $100, and you gave me $50. And she's like, oh, he only gave me $50.
Well, you might have given him $100, but he only gave me $50. I'm like, all right, this is a legitimate beef.
yeah, that's what I'm
We need to work out this relationship.
Yeah,
Maybe
somebody
talk
needs
about
to
it
solve
first.
this
Let's not-
problem.
Let's not throw hands. Let's discuss this.
But no, he takes it too far. He starts hitting her, and then blammo.
just hidden in the shadows of the alleyway, like Batman with a 45. Only
Yeah.
it's not a 45.
So she walks around the park at night. This is the same park, I believe, from Death Wish, where he also does
It
the
looked
same
very
thing.
similar.
Is that she goes in this park on purpose because she knows there's going to be all these guys.
And harkening back to the Warriors,
Yeah,
she looks
okay.
up at the bridge and like
I wrote the same thing.
like Luther from the Rogues is up there, just like, I saw her. She shot Cyrus.
Yeah, it's like she just walks into the Warriors movie set.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so bizarre.
Because this dude sees her and he just sort of does like a snap with his finger.
He does the clicks.
Oh yeah, he had like a click device.
He had
in
a
his hand.
clicky to alert the other.
Like he was
But
checking admission to the park.
He looks like one of the Warriors, but he also, there's a Cartoon Network show where he looks like the main character looks like him, which I'm now blanking on the name of it, but it's a current Cartoon Network show where the main character looks like one of the attackers from Miss 45.
And so they're like clicking their little thing, seeing how many guys are showing up, how many, as you said, Bobby, how many are entering the party, right?
Gotta keep a head count.
And you gotta love this shot is that she walks into the middle of this park.
It's awesome.
And
this
all
is the
guys,
most like badass part of the movie when she's just being this super cool vigilante killer.
and all the guys surround her like in a big circle.
One of which looks like Dave Chappelle's crackhead character joined Team Zizou.
Is that the
He's
guy
got the
with
blue shirt and the red beanie and the nunchucks.
Yeah, he's got nunchucks. Yeah.
like, what are we doing?
And then all of a sudden, I think one of them snaps, and they're all gonna attack, and she just goes blammo again.
If you've ever seen the movie Equilibrium, she does sort of the gun katas.
Yeah.
Where she's strategically shooting in each direction to get every guy.
This is crazy. She takes out 6 guys within 6 seconds.
6 shots, 6
Just
seconds, 6
boom,
guys.
boom, 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 boom.
And like
then-
one guy, the nunchuck guy immediately drops his nunchucks and starts hightailing it. Like he's just legging it out of there, and she turns and shoots him in the back.
she gets them all.
One guy's moaning on the ground still, so she puts another slug in him to make sure.
Here's the thing. That's when the point when you're like, she's really enjoying it, in my opinion, is when
this
they
is
show the
becoming
guy.
fun for her.
Yeah, when they show showed the guy suffering, and she took pleasure.
She let him groan there for a little bit and then shot him again.
Yeah.
It's also where we as the audience are supposed to be enjoying it. Because we do. It's like badass scene.
Well, yeah, this sequence, more than any other one, and the pimp, we're 100% on her side.
Yes.
Like, fuck yeah, get them all.
So
and they
here's-
want you to, they're playing with our emotions.
Yep.
They want us to get on her side because they're going to lose us now.
Yep.
Okay, so here's where it gets a little weird. Okay, because we've had the vigilante killings, Now we get into, it's a little bit different because does she play herself off as being a hooker in this next scene?
No.
Are you sure?
Not
No.
specifically a hooker, no.
Yeah,
Because
I
she
think
is
this
standing
just
on a corner next to a park.
Well, she's vamping up knowing that someone's going to try and solicit something from her, not necessarily
She
for
is at
prostitution.
a really shitty park, though,
But I think it's Central
in
Park.
a bad part of town
Right.
in the middle of the night.
where someone will guaranteed give
Yeah.
her some kind of grief for being there.
I
Or
don't
where
think
you
she's
would go to get a
necessarily
hooker.
in that mindset. I think that is just I think this next kill is a happy accident in a way.
Yeah.
She is leaving that last scene. She's at that stoplight, and this next thing happens, and she
Yeah.
rolls with it.
So
Because I wonder
I don't
it's like
think
that.
she's.
'cause,
I don't
like,
think
the
she's
lo-
consciously.
she got the
dating.
extra
Yeah,
ball
yeah.
on the pinball machine.
See, I was wondering because she is at a location that you would typically go
Sure.
to pick
And
up.
I think
a
it's playing
lady
off of the
evening.
notion that a lot of men would assume that a woman who is dressed like that in that part of town would probably be a hooker.
But she's dressed very nice. She's not dressed.
Yeah, she's not.
like
it's not
the,
as
like
sleazy.
the other prostitute.
No,
that
no,
we
no.
saw
But she does
earlier.
have a ton of makeup
Yeah,
on.
but she's
and
not doing
everything,
like
so.
the fishnets and the neon
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that crap that you see in those movies.
So here's the interesting thing. Shirt Chic arrives. Right? So from
Well,
our
the
Patreon
driver rolls the
episode,
window down.
from our Patreon episode, How to Be Cool at Parties, this guy is being cool at a party, and he's rolling around New York.
Fresh out of How to Be Cool, fresh out of Robotrix.
Yeah, and they're
fresh
like,
out of Hell Squad.
Yeah, so the way to really be cool is not only do you do Shirt Chic, but you hire yourself a driver, and you roll around like you're some oil baron, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the driver pulls up, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to ride? We'll take you wherever you want to go." And she gets in the back seat with a Shirt Chic
Shirt
guy.
Chic.
It's like a white guy in a Shirt Chic.
Yeah.
And he does
Like John
the
Rhys Davies.
By the way, he does the Robotrix move.
Yeah.
He puts a bill on her knee. And I was like, is that the universal sign or something?
And that's where we get the, like, he's trying to get her to prostitute herself.
Yeah, he puts $100 on her knee. She
Can I have you
takes
for the
it.
night?
Yeah, as like the consensual, like, I've taken the money.
And he gives her a cigarette.
Then she...
She smokes a cigarette and just sits there for a bit, and he's feeling her, not physically, but I mean he's liking her. And then she just pulls out her 45. And one thing we haven't talked about yet that happens in this movie is there's an audio trigger that happens when she's about to go Ms. 45
Yeah.
on someone. You hear like this trumpet,
Which is, by the
pop
way-
in so that we hear what I'm talking about.
is definitely paid homage to in Kill Bill with every time it goes bum, bum, with that sound
Yeah.
that makes right before she kills somebody.
And that's how you know shit's about to go down.
Yeah.
And so yeah, she shoots him right in the peen.
Yeah. And then she kills the driver too, which is like,
And this is, well, it's the middle of the night, sure, but it's on New York's not the quietest town. They're at a red light, and she just shot two people.
this is Summer of Sam style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she's just straight up doing it in the car, But that's the first time where you're like, but that driver didn't do anything wrong.
He is an accessory.
Like he's just
Yeah, he did. He's helping.
Yeah, I mean,
He's
but this is when
he's
you're just
wingman
like,
for this.
huh?
Right. This is definitely like it's kind of we've sort of ramped up with the two questionable killings, vigilante mode for 2. Now we're ramping back down to questionable killings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because then the next one is like, okay, what are we doing now? Oh, I'm sorry.
We're not there
So
yet.
she kills
Yeah.
the driver, right? And then we just go to next morning. Thana's washing herself clean in the sink, so she's cleaning off, the night.
And she's scrubbing hard. She is doing the Lady Macbeth hand scrub.
Definitely.
Then all of a sudden, fucking Phil, man, he won't shut the fuck up, and she could just hear that barking,
Murderer.
and it's just driving her insane. It's like the telltale heart. Like she could just hear that goddamn barking, and it won't stop. So she looks at the fridge, and she's got an idea. And the next thing you see is her just grinding up some
Yep.
meat.
Phil's a mighty dog, and he needs a Needs a high protein snack.
And she comes over to the landlord's place. She's like, "Oh, Santa, how you doing? Oh, you brought something for Phil?"
You brought a bowl of raw meat? How kind of you. This isn't weird at all.
This happens all the time here in the Murderplex.
And like I said, Phil tastes this before.
He knows. That's why he's excited. And I have my notes here. This is how dogs happened. Like now you got a dog in the city who's got the taste for human flesh. He's going to tell all the other dogs about it.
So Thana,
Telepathically, like Baxter.
yeah. So Thana leaves the house with some more bags. The landlady watches her leave. This is when the landlady starts becoming suspicious of her. Like, what is going on with Thana? You know?
And there's a weird moment where they show a homeless lady walking down the street kind of muttering. Yeah. And one of the things that she says is, all women do is laugh and sing and say the word pussy. Like,
yeah,
what?
that part's weird. They do zoom in to show that she does have one of the bags of parts.
Yeah.
But then the next scene, I love this, is so now you know fully that she does not, she wants people to find these.
Yeah.
Because a guy's loading a trunk, and while he's inside getting more stuff, she puts one of the bags in the trunk. They close the trunk, and you realize it's Georgia plates, and they're just driving out.
Like
and
she
it's
wants
like,
to create this feeling of unease.
yeah, it's
Well,
like
that also
this
makes
is the
sense
Fear
for-
City pamphlet.
For hiding things too. It's like you see that it's a Georgia plate. This guy's leaving the state tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If I
but-
can hide this on here, he's not going to know where that came from.
Exactly, but it's also that shock of having somebody find it.
Yeah.
Because she could just as easily throw this in the fucking river. How many bodies have the mob thrown
You know,
into the
it's-
East Bay? And nobody's found anything there.
It's like how the Riddler has this impulse to admit what he did. Like he has to admit to his crimes, but he does it as a riddle, so he gives himself a chance to still get away. That's his psychological disorder. It's like I have to tell on myself.
She's I don't know, I guess for a lack of a better term, like peacocking it, like wants to be showy and flashy with
Yeah.
it. Like I've murdered people and I want people to know. I want people to see my actions. Just very odd.
But not for a while and in a very different state.
Yeah, but in this bizarre creative way, or like who's ever going to finally open that locker at the Port Authority and be like, the fuck? And there's this whole scene that's going to be created, and her, I think just like her knowing that that's going to happen is like pleasurable to her. They go back to the work, and the designer's all mad because apparently Thana hasn't been showing up to work and is like doing all her work wrong and everything. And he's like, look, I gotta fire you, but maybe you'll come to that Halloween party. Maybe you'll come with me. And it's kind of like, oh, you could be in a lot of trouble, but I could get you out of it if you go to this party with me. And she says yes. She shakes her head yes. She'll go.
She says, I want to go.
Yes. Does she write
Yeah.
a letter? Yeah.
She wrote, I
writes
want
letters,
to go.
says, I want to go.
And you know, in that scene, in that moment, you know exactly when she decides she's going to kill him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
you watch her like,
know.
oh yeah, she's decided. She's like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm
She's like,
going
this
to kill
guy
you.
is on. He's next.
Yeah.
Right? He's on the list now.
And so then this part's really weird, but a great part is that all the workers are out watching through a window as a guy like rails a lady on a desk.
Yeah, they're straight up watching someone have sex across from the other building.
And they're clearly exhibitionists because they can know people are watching them, but they're still doing it. And she's all overacting and everything. And there's this great scene when the designer guy looks at Thana and she just gives this look back. The most sultry look of like drawing
Like,
him in.
This could be us.
Yeah. And it's so creepy because you know
Especially-
what's behind
yeah,
those
yeah,
eyes.
because we know what the plan is.
And you're just like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
at this point, I think that look, I think, is the first time when I'm like, oh, she's a villain now. Like she's
Then Bobby, to cement herself as being a villain, she's now out with like a fucking cape on.
oh, this is rad.
So she is in
She's
her
dressed
like,
like the Red Queen. She's just like, she's got like leather pants and a big red and black cape. And
Yeah,
this
she's
is her shadow outfit.
like a black hood on, and she's just in this red
They're doing
phone
like
booth.
a dark take on Little Red
Little
Riding
Riding
Hood,
Hood, yeah.
Oh yeah,
hunting down wolves all over the city.
and
Yeah, if that cloak had a fur collar, I think it would have really sold it as she's the hunter now.
Oh, definitely.
So here's the thing:
This is her superhero outfit now. This is her Savage Streets catsuit.
is this when is the point as the audience when you go, oh no,
Yeah,
I've been rooting for the wrong person
this is the scene.
because she watches
She's
as a
staking out
couple,
the ice cream shop.
a happy couple.
I really love the way this scene transitions in. Is you get the fake Chinese music, the ding-ding-ding-ding.
Yeah, it got weird.
It's
And
pretty
you have
bad.
the
That's why I had
close-up
my
on the
notes as the
sign.
Chinatown Baskin
It's the
Robbins, because
Chinatown-
we do like a gong.
But it's
Yeah.
it's so great because it's like, oh, this is the fake Chinese architecture and stuff, and then I think it's a cut, not a pan. But you then see, oh, this is a Baskin Robbins in Chinatown. So it's like, oh, exoticism. No, this is just everyday American shit. It just happens to be in Chinatown.
Yeah.
And now we're watching an Asian male and an Asian female make out.
Just a regular couple.
they're just
their-
regular people.
Their date has ended. He has to go home. And they're kissing each other goodbye.
Or he's just like walking her to work. Even.
Yeah, I
'Cause
think
she's
she was
just
maybe
like,
on
That's right,
oh, I
she's
got
in
a
a
shift.
uniform.
Yeah,
Right, so she's about to
She's in a pink
he
shirt.
escorted her to work.
Yeah.
He kissed her goodbye, and now he's going to head back home.
Yep.
And
because it's
Thana-
not safe out here.
Yep.
Thana follows him, and here's the thing: he never looks back. He never looks at another woman.
No.
She just follows him.
And he never did anything inappropriate. He was a very kind person.
Yep.
No, they didn't have an argument or anything.
No.
They just
There is a moment where I think this might be why, is when they're saying goodbye. I think the guy kind of pushes his girlfriend playfully, but it is this touch.
There's a little moment where they have sort of like one of them made a joke
Yeah.
and the other one kind of gave him a nudge.
Yes, and I'm like, oh,
Maybe
that's
that was
why.
enough for her?
I think that's
Because
that
she's
was
gone
enough
that
for her.
far
Yeah.
now?
But this is when you're in an audience. You're like, but wait, hold on. That guy, Thana.
This
This
is the
guy
first
hasn't
time in the
done
movie
anything.
where you actively don't want this
You're
to
rooting
happen.
against her.
You're like, please don't do this.
Open the door! Open the door, guy! Open the door!
because he gets to
He's
his
fumbling
building.
with his
She's
keys
following
and she's
him.
pulling her gun out.
She pulls the gun out. Yeah, he finally gets the door open. And here's the thing: she just doesn't give up. She runs up and starts like banging on the door, like trying
she's
to get
freaking
in
out
there.
that someone got away.
Yeah, and
That she couldn't get him.
She really wanted to kill this
Also,
guy.
that door was not locked. Like,
No.
You watch how bad that door gives while she's yanking on. I'm like, this thing's just opening and she's just yanking on this thing.
So it cuts to a bar, and we just see from one point of view as a guy talks, right? And the story he's telling is kind of like Frank and Enter Ninja,
Yeah.
where he's like just such a sad sack.
And for Christ's sake, Ms. 45, I love my wife. I just can't give it to her anymore.
So here's the thing he's saying is like it's a real subtle, like he's trying to portray himself as a good guy, but he's not totally innocent, because what he says is, oh, I used to have great sex with my wife, but then she got a job.
Yeah.
And then like
His angle is that he's this like pig dude who's just like, he's blaming his wife for any of his shortcomings, and like she has a duty to please him in certain ways and she's not doing it anymore.
Yeah, and he's like, she's probably cheating on me. She's doing all this stuff. It's almost like it's this weird thing, this idea of like women going into the workplace and not being women anymore and like becoming men. And he's just
speaking to the
viewing
broader themes of this movie.
Yes, and he's viewing her as like, oh, she's just becoming, it's almost like he's playing out what he would do. Is like, yeah, now she's like gonna cheat on me and find all the, do all this stuff behind my back and everything because she's not at home anymore, and well, our relationship's falling apart, and she's not talking to me. You cut to the reverse though, is Thana's just listening to him, bored as hell.
Yeah.
She's just.
I took it as she looked a
hearing-
little disappointed because he wasn't her first pick.
Yeah,
She's like,
She's-
I guess she's waiting to get enough info from this guy to be like, yeah, I guess I could kill this guy now. He's not who I wanted though.
Because she's just kind of almost drowning her sorrows because she couldn't get that kill. Yeah, and so this is like, this is the replacement kill. She's bored of this guy. Then we just cut to them continuing the conversation on a park bench near some water. And he's going on. And here's the telling thing is that he says, I followed my wife. She was cheating on me, and she was cheating on me with a woman, which I think was like the real, like, oh, she's becoming a man, like the whole symbolism of women entering
And he
the
presents that like
workplace.
that's worse than if she had been cheating on him with a guy.
Yes. Well, at first you're like, he plays it off as sympathetic. He's like, and she was having sex, and she wasn't having sex with another guy. She was having sex with a woman. And you're
And
almost
for a moment, you're like,
fuck.
Like he's like, well, which I get that. Like
it's
it's
he
things that I
almost
can't possibly give her.
He's almost like, you almost think he's like, realizing it's like she wasn't into me the whole time. She's a lesbian. But no.
Which that's bi erasure, and that's a completely different subject to talk about now.
Yeah, but
that's a problem in itself. But
like the guy is very sympathetic because he's never that bad. Like it's all his own shit.
Yeah, his
Like
story is coming from a place of deep depression.
Yes.
And it's him being like, and that's when I realized why we weren't connecting anymore, was that she wanted to be with this woman, and
But here's the thing. He ruins all that because then he says, so then I went in the kitchen and I found her cat and I strangled it to death.
And then that's when I think she goes, okay, we got one.
Yep.
That's
like,
her,
finally,
that's her
I
Annie
can do
Potts
it.
moment of, we got one.
So the thing is, though, is like he's never done anything to Thana. He just needed somebody to...
Of the people she's killed, how many did?
Yeah, but he's never even talked to her.
Yeah.
He's just wanted to pour his soul and confess unto what he's done. So she pulls out the gun and pulls the trigger, and it doesn't go off.
Yeah, it clicks.
Misfire.
And she panics. She goes so wide-eyed.
Yeah.
And he takes the gun from her. He says, what is this, a joke? And
Because, the city's been hearing about these 45 killings. And that's when we have
this
the
woman
scene where
who
he's...
doesn't have a 45.
Yeah, and he goes, this isn't even a 45.
He's
What are you-
looking down at it. And I thought that was supposed to be telling us, oh, it's the 45 killer. Because I don't know shit about guns. But since we've been informed by a friend of the show, Sean Thompson, looserounds.com, that this is some other kind of gun.
Miss 22.
It's Miss 22. The prequel. And this is I don't want to say amazing scene because I'm not like, fuck yeah. But this is a really interesting scene and an intense scene, is that he then picks the gun up and he shoots himself with it.
Yeah.
And she jumps back like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. It's an interesting comment in terms of what we're trying to tell with this whole movie, I think.
There's a lot going on in this scene specifically, which is, it's interesting. Like the guy who was just at the end anyway.
Yeah,
And he's just like,
really...
no, let me.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'll do it.
And her reaction to it is the first time she's had a strong emotional reaction to anything since the first murder.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it has to do with the fact that she didn't get the rush of killing somebody.
Exactly.
She had to witness someone die.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
a completely different experience for her
Yep.
watching someone else pull the trigger.
Yeah, it's horrifying
Yeah.
to her as she watches a man that she was going to take that from him, and he took it himself.
And in that moment, it doesn't matter that she was planning on killing him anyway. It becomes this disgusting and terrifying thing that
Yes.
happened.
Yeah, but it is a great scene.
Fucking fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
One of the best scenes in the movie, I think.
Yeah, it's super powerful.
In
and
this
it's just,
super uncomfortable movie.
And this guy acted his ass off in those two bits. Like
He's
he was
pretty
good.
great.
He was very good.
Yeah, that moment
Like,
was amazing.
we got to look up his history and see
Yeah.
if he acted in something else too, because he was really good.
He was very good. So then,
Make the most of your minutes. It doesn't matter how long you're in the movie.
so then Thana comes home from an interesting night on the town. So right, some ups and downs tonight, So the dog is still barking and driving her crazy. Phil just won't shut the fuck up. He wants some more of that man meat. She takes out some more trash bags from the fridge and the freezer, and she puts one in the closet and locks the door. Now, she does that clearly on purpose. She knows that Phil was always going after the bags. She knows that they're nosy, and she has she's just planting it, and she plants a specific bag in there, which is very interesting to show that this is all part of her plan, and it's going to come to a climax at some point. Mm-hmm. And so then she takes out some other bags. She leaves out the fire escape, which I think is almost a way to draw more attention to herself, knowing that every time she opens her door, the landlord knows she's leaving.
yeah.
Now she's being even sneakier and leaving through the fire escape, because then the landlord comes knocking. She breaks into Thana's apartment, and she's all upset. She's like, oh, it's so dirty in here, and Phil's at the closet, and he's barking.
Phil's right about to get his collar.
He knocks over a vase because he's so pumped for that man meat. And she's like, oh,
Beg your pardon.
now she's going to know we were in here, Phil. God damn it. So then it's work. It's the day of the party. They're all getting the afternoon off, right?
Yeah, the boss
happy.
announces everyone's getting the day off to get ready for his party because it's going to be off the chain.
Yeah, and everybody's like, I don't know if I want to go
Man,
anymore.
this thing sounds like it. Man, he's hyping it so bad.
He's acting like fucking Mr. Met's going to be there or something. Like this is going to be some sort of big party.
Oh, and Thana is framed so perfectly in this scene where she's standing in front of I guess the men's room.
Yeah, the men's sign is behind her.
the
It
men's
says
sign is
men.
behind her.
And her looking uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's like the P.T. Barnum of lame kickbacks.
Okay, here comes my favorite scene of the whole movie. Is Thana asks the landlady if she could walk Phil because she hates Phil, right?
Because Phil's gonna make her.
This is the funniest thing I've seen. maybe in any movie we've watched, is that Thana is walking Phil in the middle of traffic and trying to get him under the wheels of cars. Like,
This is a great scene.
there are trucks and garbage trucks and
these,
cars.
And these cars are not in on it.
No, they're honking at her going, lady, what are you doing in the middle of the street? Get that dog out from under my tire. And she's like trying to kick this dog
absurd.
on a leash under tires to kill him. And it's not working. So she finally takes him to where the Bronx Warrior starts. She takes him
It does.
out.
I thought the dude on the drum kit was gonna be sitting there.
She takes him out. She ties him to a log. And there's that amazing shot when she pulls out her Miss 22 and points it right at Phil, and he's like, ruff, ruff, ruff. And you get that great shot of her pointing the gun at the dog. And then you just cut to a note which just says something about how I lost Phil, but I'm sure he'll come back.
Yeah, Phil got away from me chasing another dog. I'm sure he'll come back.
Then she gets ready for the party, and this is where you get, like Bobby said, that Robert Rodriguez tried to recreate in Machete when Lindsay Lohan dresses like a nun.
Mm-hmm.
Thana is going to the party dressed as a nun, and you have that amazing part where she's kissing every bullet as she loads it into her clip.
One.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a bittersweet moment because we're not on her side.
No.
We're like, oh no, we don't want this to happen, but that's such a cool scene.
So this is definitely, in my opinion, like almost an homage to Taxi Driver.
Yes.
And her taking the gun and like kind of pointing it in the mirror. And
That's another perfect double feature.
yeah,
You
this
want
and
to
Taxi
really
Driver.
capture New York at that time and the style of film. Those two movies are perfect.
You know, I'd say it's interesting. Actually, Taxi Driver was a lot more like Miss 45 because with Travis, you follow this guy the whole movie and you're like, dude, Travis, we gotta talk, man. Like
Travis is a little loose from day one.
Yeah, yeah. He takes her to that certain movie, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get her attention somehow."
You feel like those lives could intersect.
Oh, definitely.
Like she could get picked up by a cab just from one location to the other, and it's Travis being like, "So you hear about these 45 killings?"
But
yeah, I think it's great.
But it's these interesting moments that in both those movies, there's certain events that trigger those characters into thoughts that were like thoughts and feelings that were always there in the subconscious, but never like bubbled to the surface, I guess. And they're brought forth through various events. So she's kissing all the bullets, loading them in the gun, right? Pointing the gun in the mirror, getting ready for the big party.
Seeing how cool she looks.
Yeah. She does look pretty cool. She's, got her cool nun outfit on. And everybody's at the party is like, whoa, that girl looks all cool. They do. They're like, who's that girl? Because they're at the party. Guys, Mr. Met did show up.
Oh, man.
The boss makes a promise. He keeps it.
Like he was telling everybody, he's like, Mr. Met's going to be here. I swear. They're like, you're not getting Mr. Met. Come on.
So let's talk about some of the things we see at this party because this is great.
Other
Can we
than
talk
Mr. Met.
about the band? The band, I made an
Let's talk
observation.
about the band because
Okay.
there is a band playing for the rest of the
For
film.
the rest of the movie.
And if you buy
Great
the
song.
soundtrack
Great
on
song.
vinyl, they have the band's music as the final tracks of the album.
Oh, cool.
It's fucking rad. I put that on so many times in my apartment, just hearing the trumpet. Play a little bit of that.
Oh, of course.
So I don't know if you guys noticed, but this band is made up of 3 famous magicians.
I did not know
On
this.
keyboard is Harry Anderson. On
We
drums
should preface.
is Doug Hennig. I come from a magic family.
Yeah, you
so I
come
know
from a
that.
magic family.
So Doug Hennig is on drums, and the trumpet is Harry Blackstone. I don't know if you realize that.
I did not.
It was not.
We're not from
literally
magic
them,
families.
but they were
But they're
all
dressed as them.
cosplaying as those people.
Their costumes were all famous
Like,
magicians.
as soon as I saw Harry Anderson on keyboard, it's Harry Anderson. He's got a fedora. He's got suspenders. He's got a tie.
That's wonderful.
With rolled up sleeves. Rest in peace, Harry. Holy shit, that's Harry Anderson.
Rest in peace, both Harry Andersons.
So we're at the party. There is also a man and a woman dressed as clowns arguing about why the man didn't get a vasectomy.
We're
Is he a
doing
clown?
all-
I thought he was a zombie.
Okay, he's a zombie.
She's Raggedy Ann.
You're Raggedy Ann.
Yeah.
And we're kind of doing, if you remember that segment on the old Muppet Show with the ballroom,
Yes.
where everyone's dancing, and then like a different couple will come to the foreground and they'll do a little shtick.
Yeah.
And then move on to the next couple. We're kind of doing that here. We have a guy, you were saying, Mike, we have a guy talking about his inabilities.
Well, he won't get a vasectomy. She's
That's
like,
what it was.
you said you'd get a vasectomy after we had our
I changed
daughter.
my mind.
Yeah, he's like, I changed my mind. It's my body.
And then at one point we have an egg joke, which I thought was interesting. It's just like 2 eggs are sitting in a pot together, and one says the other, "How do they expect us to get hard in 3 minutes when we just got laid?"
Was that in the party scene? I
I think it was just before the party scene, but I have it in my notes because it's a pretty solid
Yeah, it
joke.
is a good joke. Then we also have
Got that for your type
the
5.
I got it for
Sporto.
my Tide 5 when I put the bag on my head.
There's like the Sporto guy who's talking about getting virgin prostitutes in
Oh, yeah, that guy's
like
gross
Puerto
as
Rico or
shit.
something.
Yeah.
Like
he's-
if you go to, what country did he say?
I thought it was like Spain
Puerto Rico.
or Puerto
Puerto
Rico or
Rico,
something.
right?
Yeah, he says if you go to Puerto Rico, you can buy an underage prostitute.
I mean, not now because they have no electricity, but at the time of this movie.
Right.
But and it's interesting because that is by far the grossest thing said in this scene.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he gets it the least in the.
He actually, I think, survives.
he would survive. He gets shot
based
in the
on what
head.
happens, but we'll
Spoiler,
get to that.
We'll get to it.
And my favorite person at this party that we haven't discussed yet is the fucking hunchback,
Yeah.
who has got hunchback moves. This dude is getting down with what limited mobility his back has wearing the hunch. So he's just sort of like violently rocking back and forth, almost like a headbang.
My favorite was definitely Mr. Met, just standing in a corner the whole time doing a headbang with the Mr. Met mask.
Which I don't know
on
about
his
you
head.
guys. That's more or less what I do at these kinds of parties. I'm just going to get a little drunk, stand
You
in the
make a
corner.
giant paper mache baseball
Yes,
head for yourself.
I do every time. It's never the Mets though, because I'm a Phillies fan. Fuck the Mets. But
I just thought it was so funny because like you never see like a Mets thing in a movie. I was like, Mr. Met? The first time I saw this, I'm like, what the fuck?
And he's not off-brand. He turns around and you see the back of his
He's
shirt and it says
absolutely
Mets.
Mr.
Yeah,
Met.
oh yeah.
He is
this guy
on
is-
model.
This is the same Mr. Met that made the news.
Like I
Like
think,
this is the one that gave the finger, right?
I think this was Mr. Met. Like
This
I'm
is
serious.
a legitimate Mr. Met.
Yes.
I jumped off my couch. I couldn't believe Mr. Met. I was hoping the Philly fanatic would come in too,
So at the same time this happens,
who is
the
neither
land-
man or woman.
yeah, Philly Fanatic is
Philly
like
fanatic
a
would survive this.
like a pansexual being.
Yeah. It's related to Cubert.
Yeah, him and Qbert would have sex. Well, it and Qbert would have sex. So
But a weird
They
kind
and
that you
Qbert.
can't really describe.
they just kind of rub up against each other, and,
They
and a
go
new one.
ass to ass like chickens. Pretty sure. Cubert and the Philly fanatic would rub asses to have sex. You heard it here first,
They
listeners.
wouldn't put their snouts together?
Well, I mean, but that's a kissing thing. That's
You
not.
know, Tanner, this
not
is
for procreation.
I
children.
don't. Hey, I don't know. I don't know. Qbert.
These-
Well, you didn't grow up in
biology.
Pennsylvania, so you
That's
don't know how
true.
these work.
These mascots are for children, Tanner. Please.
Jesus,
We
Tanner.
don't need to talk about how they have sex.
I think like a peen comes out of the snout, but it has a vagina at the end, and I think they
This is a shape of
eat-
water
By the
thing.
way-
they Ouroboros each other.
This is all happening while the end music to Miss 45's going on.
Just
Yeah,
going on.
you're keeping it through the entire last 20 minutes of the podcast, right?
Can you please?
And so then they go back to the apartment. The landlord
Yeah, Jessica Fletcher.
finds this bag in the closet. She finally gets it open. She brings it to her apartment. It's the fucking head of the guy.
It's amazing that she didn't get rid of the head yet.
Yeah. Well, she strategically left it. Like,
Yeah.
this was it. This is all a
This
climax.
is like
and,
the
like,
kid from Pieces putting his mom's head on the dresser.
she had planned this ever since it was revealed that, like, there's going to be the big Halloween party.
Yeah.
Like, this was the whole thing. So then back at the party, everybody keeps going, like, who's that girl you brought? Who's that girl you brought to the designer? She's really cool. She's wearing that nun outfit. And he's like, oh, yeah, she's great. And he takes her upstairs.
I like that he calls her his protege.
Yeah, that.
Speaking to your grooming theory.
Huh. So he takes her upstairs and
They
he
go
starts
up
like.
the spiral staircase.
No, he does a weird thing where he like almost kisses her like Christ-like, and that he's like kissing her feet.
Well,
and like
what does he say? He has a line of dialogue that fits with what you're saying there. I don't remember what it was.
I
but-
remember that when he's going down her body she's 17 when they filmed this, so it's very strange. He kisses her pubic area and calls it the Mound of Venus.
The Mound of Venus, yeah.
see, so it
And you're
does
supposed to
become-
be completely creeped
It
out
is
by
very
this.
biblical in what he's doing right here. Not only
Yeah, goes
obviously
down,
the
starts
nun.
kissing her feet while she sits there.
Yeah, he is. He's like
He's playing off the nun
he's
costume.
playing at it like she's almost like a Christ-like figure. It's very weird.
And then
like
as he moves his way back up her leg, he suddenly catches her holster.
and she's got the gun. She pulls it out.
And we get that.
Here's the crazy thing is that like I think this is the only person to die off screen.
Yeah.
And it's very weird that
I think
like,
it's more effective that way.
they chose
than if we
to-
saw it happen.
they only chose to kill him off screen. And I don't know what the purpose of that was.
Well, I feel it was a choice because I think it's more jarring to see it from the perspective of the partygoers.
Yeah.
to hear
Of
the
course.
blam and everyone panic would be way more effective than being in the room watching something we've already seen happen 8 times.
But there's so much symbolism in everything that Abel's doing throughout the whole movie that I'm trying to figure out what.
Well, we're
this-
not with her anymore. We're with the partygoers. Like emotionally, as far as whose side we're on and whose perspective we want to watch the rest of this movie from.
Yeah.
I think that was important in showing it to us that way. We're like, this is where we're coming from now.
Right, because
We're with the people trying to survive what's about to happen.
Yeah, if we're with them and we see her kill the boss, I think there's going to be a little bit of the disconnect, just because
Yeah.
we know the boss is gross.
Yeah.
So this puts us.
We'll still be cheering if we're
I think
on
it's
the
definitely along
It
that,
puts us
like
in the
you're
party.
saying,
It's
is that
it's
now
man bites dog. Like we can't if we're there with him, we're on his side. We're accomplices.
So yeah, it is
Or
like
are we
like you guys
witnesses
are saying.
to the murder?
We are now part of the party, as in terms of like the music hasn't stopped. We're fully immersed into it. We're all dressed as
Yeah.
Mr. Met in the aisles.
Yeah,
you
we're
know?
all just
in
Mr.
our
Met.
hearts.
Yeah, in our hearts, we're all dressed up like various sports mascots.
I can still be the fanatic.
Yeah, from teams that never win. You know, we're all just those loser mascots.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Actually, my team's doing very well this season.
she comes down the spiral staircase, and it all turns into slow motion, like the end of
The whole movie's in
They
slow-mo
call her
now.
One Eye, and that she just starts murdering
And
men,
it's-
only men.
Yeah, she singles them out specifically, and it's rightfully hard to watch because at this point, these are all innocent men. After she killed her,
Well,
mostly.
innocent to a
Mostly.
point, because, like, again, the guy talking about buying underage prostitutes, although he isn't killed.
He's killing shot in the hip.
But one guy who did, I think the first guy she shoots is the guy who chose not to get a vasectomy.
I
Yeah.
think it's the second, because there's the guy who we
Oh, the guy
don't
on the
meet
stairwell.
who goes up the stairs.
Just the extra on the stairwell
Extra
who's
on the
going, whoa, whoa,
stairwell.
whoa, don't do this. And then
Yeah,
she shoots
he gets
him
shot.
Yeah.
and climbs over his body to keep going after everybody.
So it's kind of this weird juxtaposition where you're getting people that did say bad things, and you're getting completely innocent people to show, like,
To her, it's all the same.
yeah, like for us, there's this big disconnect. I'm like, wait, we don't even know that guy.
Yeah.
And like, we almost have more feeling for the people we don't know because they haven't said bad things.
Because everyone we've heard speak has given us some reason to be like,
Yeah.
Well, except for the vasectomy guy, he wasn't like dishonest about it. He just said, "Look, I don't want to do this."
He broke a promise to his wife.
Okay.
That's the justification.
Fair.
But also, we know that. The audience knows that.
She doesn't.
She doesn't know that.
He's just a man.
Right.
And so she's killing all the men at the parties. There's that part when
There's a man
the
dressed
symbolic part. Yeah.
the man dressed as the bride.
Yeah, where he
Because while everyone else is running for cover, he just sort of calmly stands against the wall, and he has this sort of crestfallen look of just like, I know, yeah, just do it.
And I'm wondering if that's like the symbolism of her, like, almost like killing herself in a way, in terms of like he is just presented as like this figure in an outfit, like in the bride's outfit, like the purity and everything like that, and she just rejects that whole notion.
I also think there's a take on it too of it's a man in drag for comedic purposes, and so it's a man poking fun at nothing in particular about women, just women, right? Yeah. That's the whole gag of his Halloween costume is I'm dressed as a woman. Isn't that silly? and her. So I think I like your take on it as well.
And then
And
when
it
she
is-
shoots him and he starts to drop, like his wig comes off and it's clearly like
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
short.
And it is to say, by the way, that she commits all these killings on Halloween, which is the one day a year where we all dress up as
Something
we put
we're
on
not.
fake faces and go out, but then you can see the real people below.
And
which
she's
is interesting,
obliterating
too,
all of our facades.
is that the one guy who doesn't get killed, who gets just shot in the hip, is almost not in a costume.
Yeah.
He's just almost dressed like a regular guy.
Like he's going to the gym.
He's
Yeah.
in a weird like high school PE outfit.
Yeah.
Which is
You
a
know,
weird choice.
Well, we've all been to Halloween costumes where someone just sort of half-assed it in the last
little
hour.
last minute guy, yeah.
What are you dressed as? Oh, I'm dressed as me in high school. or like I'm old me, so I just like put gray
yeah.
in my hair.
Yeah.
Man, shut up. Do you get the feeling that she was aiming for his crotch? And
Yeah,
she
oh,
missed?
yeah.
Because it's the guy talking about fucking underage
Oh,
prostitutes.
definitely,
So she was
definitely.
trying to shoot him in the balls, and
Yeah.
then it just happened to get him in the hip
Yeah.
But why have her miss? Like that
for the
shot?
first time in this movie. Why
Yeah.
have her miss the bullseye?
I don't know. It's almost like the most disgusting thing we've heard in the movie, and the guy doesn't die.
It's
Yeah.
weird. I
But-
choose to believe he did anyway.
So here's what
Poisoning.
happens at the end is that,
Our favorite character.
yeah, the sassy coworker,
Lori.
Lori, I think, yeah.
takes a knife
She
from
grabs
the
the cake knife from the party.
And she holds it as a penis.
Yes.
She holds it very phallic in front of her crotch.
And she waits a long time to act. She's waiting for her to fire off another shot.
She waits for her to kill another man.
She lets another one go
Yeah.
first, which I think is interesting.
And then as Thana just keeps backing up, and then as she backs up, she almost backs into the knife herself.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, what a rough spot to do that. Like, she gets shanked in the lower back with a cake knife.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to kill you instantly.
Oh.
Like, Thana's going to be on the ground for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a panic situation. You're just trying to act, but God damn.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's a brutal spot to do it.
And so that's the only time Thana ever makes a noise, is that she screams.
And then turns, and as she's about to fall, she says the one word she speaks in this movie. She says, sister.
Yeah, and she does not shoot Lori.
No.
No, she turns and she draws on her, and then is like, I'm not shooting a woman.
And then the last part is actually back at the landlord ladies. We didn't mention it earlier, but for some reason the Tony Danza guy dressed up like a gorilla.
Oh yeah.
We had the whole scene where he comes.
Yeah.
They just scare her.
What are you doing in Thana's apartment?
Yeah,
Which
there's like
is
a jump
well, it's
scares him
Halloween,
as
so
a
he's gonna
gorilla.
go do something, but
Yeah,
he wasn't invited to the party, of course.
Bobby.
And there's a quick
he
scene
was
with
trick
the-
or treating.
You know he was.
And there's the cops are there now, and they're talking to the landlady.
Yeah,
And there's a joke about Phil, if Phil's a human or a dog. And once the cops find out it's a dog,
Oh,
they're
yeah,
like-
because
they're
she
like,
killed
"Oh."
my Phil, and they're like, "Who's Phil?" It's a dog. And they're like, fuck off."
and so then they say Thana one more time, and then you cut to the stairs, and we always see Thana walking up the stairs, and we kind of hear. I think we're still hearing the party music, and then Phil runs up the stairs and scratches at the door.
And that's sort of our, hey, he's okay. You know, they wanted to leave us on some kind of levity.
Didn't
Yeah.
kill the dog.
So yeah,
'Cause
which was
the dog didn't deserve to die, so it's rightfully so.
It wouldn't have been right for
She
her
was
to
just
kill
trying
the
to get
dog.
him away from the crime scene.
Yeah. So recommendations?
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a must see
100%,
for this type of film. Just forewarned is forearmed. It's an uncomfortable watch.
Oh yeah.
No one's having fun watching this movie. It's not supposed to be a fun movie.
But it's a great movie to watch. You can analyze it. Really, really interesting thematic elements in this. A lot of
I
symbolism.
really think it's one of the absolute best of the types of movies we cover on this show.
Oh yeah, for sure. This
This is quintessential if you want one that's done well, like effective, not the goofy stuff that we often cover, which is fun as hell on its own.
Oh yeah.
But on the other side of the spectrum, this is sort of the utmost of what a Grindhouse movie can accomplish.
This is like how, because Tarantino makes movies that are very mainstream, right? But when I look at them, I see like so many elements of exploitation movies, and that like he is like the one person I think that's finally bridged that exploitation movies into the mainstream thing.
Yeah, he took all of this stuff that he was obsessed with, and he found a way to make it palatable to a mainstream audience.
And I think it's the
Respect
idea
for
of
that,
making
but-
it more tongue-in-cheek and comedic with what he does. Because, like,
Yeah.
if you watch Django, for example, that movie is violent.
Yeah.
It is crazy violent. And it's all sorts of... It would be any other exploitation movie, but he does all these things that, like, make it funny and, like, has these great scenes of dialogue. And it just becomes this more, like, mainstream movie, but... Imagine somebody pitching a movie and they're like, yeah, and then Leonardo DiCaprio is going to play a slave owner that likes to like have him fight in front of him, and he lives on a place called Candyland.
Well, yeah, I feel like anything Tarantino did post Jackie Brown could only have been done by Tarantino at that point in his career.
Oh yeah,
Like that, none of those movies would ever get made by anybody if it wasn't, well, you're Tarantino and this is what you do and we're just going to let you do it.
yeah, he's gone full exploitation at this point. Like he's just
I mean,
making.
one could argue he always was. Like none of his
Yeah.
films aren't exploitation films.
Well, because I could see a lot of Abel Ferrara and Reservoir Dogs.
Definitely.
Like he's definitely doing like more of this type of movie, but I do think that as far as Miss 45 is concerned, like Abel Ferrara is a better filmmaker in that respect, and that he is like a very, very good director, and the performances he gets, and like we're going through it, there's like so many layers and symbols and all these little things in this movie that are like all there on purpose. We're talking about a movie that's only 80 minutes long, and we're talking about it way more than 80 minutes, and we could talk about it for hours longer, but to have that much powerful message and imagery in 80 minutes and have it just such a good movie, I mean, I don't know, that's a huge accomplishment for somebody. This is their second movie they ever made. And the first movie made is Driller Killer.
I mean, that is announcing your presence with authority.
So yeah, I mean,
And it makes me, like I said at the beginning of this, watching this again makes me really want to go through every Abel Ferrara movie and every Zoe Lund movie, and just like their voices, especially their voices together, were
you
so
got to see
strong.
Bad Lieutenant. I mean, maybe potentially we could have that on the grind. I mean, it is definitely content-wise you can have it on the grind bin, because it's crazy. You should watch that
Well, it's
one.
a
Let us
little
know what
late
you
if
think.
we're getting into the 90s with it, but we can maybe
We did
cover
Mikey.
it. That's true.
Guys, you hear that sound?
No, I did not.
Man, you don't want it in here, do you?
Tanner, how do you think Bobby DeVito fit in the world of Miss 45? Come on. We got to do it. Bobby's got one. Look at him.
Bobby's got one? Okay, I'll go first. So,
okay. Here we go.
So Bobby can do a good one.
I don't know about that, but
They go on a road trip. They get the van breaks down in New York. They get jobs as garment workers because one garment factory lost a lot of people.
There's some vacancies.
There's vacancies. Oh yeah, because the designer died. So like someone needs to take over this company because they've got orders to fill. And you know who's a fashionista? DeVito. He knows exactly what people in America want. And you know who's a good seamster? Bobby.
You know, Tanner, I feel like Lori is going to end up taking up Miss 45's cause by the end of that movie as she has to work for Bobby.
I see a lot of DeVito and Lori hitting it off. I think they could be the power couple. And I'm going to go with that. And that's where I'm going to end how the van fits into Miss 45.
Bobby, you seem excited for one.
I don't know about excited, but I don't think we saw every shot that happened at that Halloween party.
Oh, boy.
And I think we cut to exterior street night, and you see an orange poofed gentleman running down the street full speed in a horse costume with the ass end dragging on the ground. With him going, "Hang in there, buddy! Oh, who shorts a horse in the ass?"
You know, I have one very, very similar. It's a very easy one. I would say put us back in that party. You know that Mr. Met. You know that was a big mask, and if you took it off, there'd be an orange poof. And he was his whole plan the whole night was he's like, I'm going to hit on that nun. She's really cute. And he's like, at one point, he was going to take it off and go, you in the studs? And you never see Mr. Met get shot, but I feel like that was his plan, is he was like, all right, I'm going to be in the bathroom. I'm going to get myself ready. He comes out, and he just sees the aftermath of all, and he goes, yeah, not tonight. Not tonight.
That now immediately made me want to see Mr. Met get shot in the head, like through the mask.
They should have done it.
And the bull just goes in, and then you just see blood splatter.
An exit wound off the baseball. But yeah, while Bobby's in the corner as Mr. Met, you see the hunch on the hunchback open up, and DeVito's just like, stick to the plan, Bobby. He hands him the rag.
I feel like there was something like, we can't kill Mr. Met on camera.
That was their one rule. Like,
Yeah,
we're not
no.
allowed to shoot Mr. Met.
There's like, do you think we can clear this with the Mets? Having the mascot? They're like, as long as you don't shoot him. I mean, we are the B team here in New York, so just having us in a movie is a pleasure. Thank you very much. But please don't kill Mr. Met on camera. They're like, fair enough.
Do you think Abel Ferrara went, shit, okay, fine.
It's like, well,
You know,
I spent a lot of money on that paper mache squib. That was the real.
just burst like a pinata.
Well, thank you again for joining us on another episode of The Grind Bin. This was a Patreon vote, and if you want to vote on our next Patreon movie, you can. And by the way, it's coming up. The next Patreon vote is Vice Squad.
Oh, man.
Which is, I've never
So,
seen. Have you seen this movie?
I've heard about it.
I've heard about
it. I know what it's known for, and I gotta say, patrons. What the fuck?
By the way,
we're a comedy podcast.
This was a runaway success on the Patreon vote. This one won by, what was it? Like a massive margin.
Man.
It went up against Coffee, which is the Pam Grier movie, and Up, which is a Russ Meyer movie.
Wow.
And this movie just far and away.
We know what our Patreon family wants of us. They want us to squirm. They want us to get dirt under our fingernails.
Is this Wings Hauser's first appearance on the Grind Bin?
It will be, yes.
Wings? Oh
and
my
it's
God.
his
I don't
most
know this movie.
like it's Wing Hauser as this brutal pimp named Ramrod, and he is fucking people up in this movie. Like he is a hideous human being.
Oh, this
and
is
that's
a
what
hard
this movie
movie
is
to
known
find,
for.
by the
is
way.
it is fucking hardcore.
Yeah.
I don't mean sex, but I mean like it's a.
It's like it's hard
This
to
is
find.
a brutal fucking movie from
Like-
everything I've heard. I'm
like the-
excited to finally check it out.
They're like, yeah, well, we're
At the $2 level.
We'll release this movie to you sickos
Yeah.
in a limited run DVD. It's like if you look at the Anchor Bay original release, it's like $130 on
Wow.
Amazon.
Have you tracked down a copy, Mike?
Yes, I got the actual the later DVD.
Oh,
of
perfect,
It,
cool.
But yeah, we got Vice Squad coming.
Well,
up.
I'm looking forward to trying to be funny about that.
Well, Ramrod. that works.
There's a lot of good material there.
And come on, Wings Hauser,
No, it'll be good. It'll be good. And
the
I'm
man named
glad for
after
this.
Chicken Wings.
Rebel Roy.
Rebel Roy, huh?
Rebel
Rebel
Roy.
Roy, huh?
Oh, wait, I got a plug. Can I plug?
Oh, of course.
Wait, Tanner, you got anything to plug?
I got a plug. San Diego Comic-Con. I'm going to be on a panel called Unnecessary Debates. And apparently I can't tell you exactly when it is, but it is going to be a San Diego Comic-Con. So check the schedule if you're going to be there.
And like we said, you're going to be having your own. You're going to cosplay as your own booth.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like a cigarette girl with my own booth.
That's fantastic.
Because the booths there are fucking expensive.
Very expensive.
So if you just cosplay as your own booth,
Yeah, I skirt the rules.
I feel like they're gonna go like, we'll let you go this year, but we see what you're doing.
No,
So
you know what? Next year they would just charge people $100 to carry around their own booths.
So there's never been anybody that's tried to cosplay as their own booth. Like
Not that I've
seriously, of
seen.
all the years, there's never been this.
It's really a genius idea. I feel like someone has probably cosplayed as Lucy from Peanuts with the advice booth, and that's
Yeah,
just kind of
right?
the same idea, right? I'm gonna go with it.
You understand?
Somebody shot Mr. Matt.